observation on the Vulcan Cert 2 launch. Falcon 9 has yet another minor anomaly. Europa Clipper and Hera are getting ready to launch, and Starship is... I don't know. But we'll talk about it on this week's Flame Trench with special guest.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Look at this! Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Flame Trench. We are NSF. We're a crazy, dedicated group of rocket nerds. And if you want the straight news of the week, you can watch This Week in Spaceflight, which came out earlier today. If you want to hang out in the Flame Trench where things are informal and get a little spicy, well, then you're in the right place. I'm Jack Beyer, and as always, I'm joined by our ever-competent cohort of co-hosts, starting off with Mr. EJ. EJ, how you doing, bud? No book this week?
Oh, no, I got a book. I'm just tired, man. That launch, the Vulcan launch this morning, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, but I do have a book. No gag today. If you watched the Flame Trench last week, guys, there was we kind of segued into a thing from Intrepid, and they had the Space Shuttle Stories book by Tom Jones. I went and procured one. It's actually awesome. So no book gag, but seriously, this book's sweet if you want to learn about the Space Shuttle.
All right, this week we got a book plug. That was a hard plug. Usually the gag is like a soft plug, so
No.
that was quality stuff, EJ.
Sorry,
Don't worry about it.
haven't
Also
slept
on
in a
the
little while.
stream is Sawyer. Sawyer, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Wait a minute. Where's my pillow? Where's my blanket? I'm vertical. I'm home.
You've been verticated. Hooray!
I have indeed been verticated. My strong back has not retracted. It is upright again, and it's good to be back. And by the way, EJ, it's not just you that's tired. It's also that bit, so that works.
Oh,
Back with the spice.
It's already spicy.
Oh,
Also joining us this week, we have a special treat, Mr. Beau Gennard
What's
from
up,
BPS Space.
Rocket fans? I don't have anything good to say. I'm Joe.
Joe, you could probably describe yourself far better than I could, but I would say you are a filmmaker because you really do make amazing content with your cameras, and you are a rocket maker. If nobody here is in chat follows Joe, if you don't already follow him on YouTube and all the places, you're doing yourself a great disservice. But Joe, how would you describe what you do?
I think most relevant to this call, I make a lot of solid rocket motors. I mean, I make rockets that fly, I make avionics and stuff like that, but not like anything interesting is happening in the space industry today surrounding solid rocket motors, but that's one of the things I do.
Good deal. Well, I mean, with that, I think we should just probably jump right into it. I have here in our document a title for this section, and it's called Vulcan Did an Oopsie. So, Sawyer, you were there on site in person. You got to actually see the oopsie with your own two Mark I eyeballs. Give us maybe a rundown. What exactly happened?
I did. I saw it, and yet I didn't see it at the same time, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. For those who don't know, Vulcan making its second ever flight on the Cert 2 mission, lifting off after about an hour, 25 minutes of pushing through the window, lifting off 7:25 a.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Cape Canaveral, Florida. I don't know why that was fun to say, but anyway. Lifted off, and everything looked okay. It seemed to be a little extra sparky, shall we say. It seemed like there was a lot of things that were flaking off of it. We figured, that's just the material from the solid rocket motors. That happens, or that's ice, that burns up. That happens. Turns out the burn ended up going about 20 seconds longer than we thought. and we're like, wait a minute, something's a little off with that. And it turns out that one of the solids decided to not have the best of days, we'll say. As you mentioned, ULA's wording that it made an observation on the SRB number 1 there. I actually didn't see it with my own eyes there. I had to look back. I was about to post an image on X, the Everything app, and I noticed that there was an explosion of some kind. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I looked through my photos, and I happened to see this exact frame. I'm like, oh, I did capture it. And that's when I realized something was actually really wrong. And getting to look back and see, in subsequent shots, you can actually see the bell of the solid rocket motor coming off is not great. But worth noting that Tori Bruno said that it was just an observation. Everything else was perfect. It hit its target, bullseye, as he likes to say. And the inert payload made it into orbit.
Yay, inert payload. But right off the bat, I do want to say props to you and the rest of the Cape team, Max and D, absolutely killing it. We were able to sort of go back and watch the replays and look at the photos and sort of figure out what the heck it was we were seeing. Like during the actual launch itself, I remember even saying, it's probably fine. Solids kind of barf chunks every now and then when they're happy. It's totally cool. And then we saw that the center core burned for 20 extra seconds. And then we went back and looked at the replays and we're like, oh, that's clearly an observation, if we may say so. But important to note, as you said, launch still went fine. And it's really a testament to the engineering and the capability of the rocket that it was able to sort of compensate for this issue. But Joe, as our resident now, I'm going to call you our resident solid rocket motor expert. You said you were doing some math during the pre-show. You mentioned you did some math, and it's not actually that real bad?
Yeah.
Question mark.
I mean, not that bad is like the term that I would use if I were making this motor, or if one of my like amateur rocketry peers were making this motor. If I'm trying to certify my rocket to do national security missions, I don't know. The tolerances on that are a little different. Feel like you want your motor to perform really exact, but that's probably another conversation. We can get into that in a minute. So, like real basic rocket stuff. A de Laval nozzle is like a converging throat and diverging section, right? So you have your chamber, and this is true for liquids or solids. You get your chamber, you have your throat. It constricts all of the exhaust gases down to Mach 1 at the throat. And then once it reaches Mach 1, physics changes a little bit. And because of this thing called the Joule-Thomson effect or the Joule-Thomson law, once you start to expand the area, the flow continues getting faster, okay? So that's the first thing. You're actually doing like 80% of the work of getting thrust in those first two steps, converging and throat. Once the flow is constricted and at Mach 1, you're most of the way there. More than 70%. It's like 83% is the number that I came up with. So I like modeled this on my own rockets. You can model the expansion cone as like a conical nozzle or a parabolic nozzle or whatever. And all of the fancy words mean that my guess is if we're expecting the GEM 63 XL, which is strapped onto the side of this thing, to produce like 400,000 pounds. I don't know what it is in kilograms or newtons. You have Google. You can figure it out.
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom units. 400,000 pounds of thrust per the Northrop Grumman Propulsion Products Catalog, which is a great read if you ever want to dive into that. Totally public, and they just advertise their motors as if you're ordering from like just a normal service, like Walmart or whatever. So 400,000 pounds, let's assume nominal. I guess where like that motor probably goes from 400,000 to like 330, which is tolerable in a vehicle that's doing like 2 million pounds of thrust total with both solids at full power and both BE4s at full power. You're only losing 70,000 pounds of thrust, which is a lot, but not in the scope of like 2 million. And it's also been burning for 20 seconds, and so you have less fuel. I'm not that surprised that it did okay. After this, it is a really lucky thing because I think someone on Twitter mentioned this too. Sorry, someone on X, the Everything app, mentioned this too. But if it had burned through on the other side of the rocket motor, you're probably impinging on the BE4. or the
Right.
tank, and either one of those is going to ruin the rocket.
Right,
so
that's
anyway,
a bad day if that had happened.
Yeah. You lose your expansion cone, and like you lose some performance, but the rocket that's the best thing that could fail on a solid rocket if it has to fail.
Got it. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't have really expected that it would be that minor, but I'm also like a dum dum at this stuff compared to you or others, which is why we had you on. So once again, thanks for being on. EJ, I would like an EJ's take really quick here before we jump into questions. Speaking of, if you have any questions, I have neglected to mention, y'all. If you have any questions, throw them in chat at NSF Spaceflight. We'll see your questions pop up. But EJ, what was your reaction to this morning?
Well, a little sleep deprived, but I think I made a comment about 30 seconds in that I don't remember so much sparks coming out of the back of the vehicle, and right after I finished that sentence, I saw the nozzle come off. It's like, it's probably not a good thing. And then I basically
I'd like to stress that it's not normal.
Yeah. It's been, well, we got to remove it from the environment. No, I mean, Joe frankly said it better than I ever could. I mean, you got nozzle burn through. That comes from non-uniform heating down there. I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons why this could happen. I don't want to get too crazy into specifics or anything, but yeah, you saw a huge decrease in performance because, as I was saying, it's got to constrict in the throat. You have to impinge on the gas. If you don't impinge it and make a jet with it, like going supersonic, then it's a really nice flamethrower.
Right.
I'll admit, I sat there without doing the calculations. I know, shame me. And I was like, I don't know if this would have made it in space with payload, but clearly, I mean, I'll defer to Joe's judgment in this one, to be honest with you. And Tori Bruno said the same thing. Joe and Tori Bruno both know a lot about rockets, so it's two pretty good.
I do have one other additional hot take, which is that there's a lot that's lucky here, and one of the things is that it's lucky that it didn't happen later in the flight, because there's a great shot. I think it might be Max. It's one of the NSF guys. One of you guys got this great shot of the rocket tilting over after it loses the expansion cone, after it loses the after the nozzle. And so you think about what that does to your angle of attack, or AOA. And these rockets, I mean, they're we all know this, but they're like soda cans, right? They're like these thin wall, really delicate structures. And if you're an AOA of 5 degrees, an angle of attack of 5 degrees, if you're moving slow is no big deal. If you're going like Mach 1.5, Mach 2, higher up,
right?
I think that this type of failure higher up could have caused a lot more problems, or rather faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. At what point in Vulcan's flight does it hit max Q typically? I don't actually know that off the top of my head. That could have been bad.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I think it's at about 59 seconds, assuming that all engines are running properly.
Got it. So before max Q, thank goodness. I'm super curious as to, we'll learn more in the coming days as ULA looks into the issue, but I'm really curious, where this failure originates from. Is it a process failure, like they bumped the nozzle while it was being transported or mounted to the vehicle or something like that? Or is it something more of a manufacturing issue? Was it on Northrop side? Was it on the transporter side? I don't know. We don't know yet, but really just want to hammer home that the good thing is that the rocket had baseline performance that was able to make up for it. And yeah, that attitude change that you're talking about, Joe, is extremely noticeable. I think that was a max. Crispy is saying it's a max. That was the max shot. It's noticeable, right? And here we go. We'll be able to see it very clearly in this. Oh man, I mean, unless you're Starship and you're way overbuilt and way overmassed because you're a prototype, you don't expect a rocket to be able to withstand something like that, let alone a backflip or what have you.
It's also interesting noting that Julia and I both did streak shots, and you can actually see in the plume, there's one little spot where it kind of just curves. You can see the exact moment, essentially, where the explosion happened, and how not only that, but how quickly it corrected. I mean, in Julia's, which is a much wider shot, it's not as noticeable. It's there, but it's not as noticeable. Mine, which is a more cropped in shot, it seems a little more extreme, but it's a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I think the gimbal limit on the BE4s is something like 5 degrees, if I remember saying that earlier in the Discord flyby. Suffice to say, those BE4s gimbling their hearts out and doing what they can to make sure the vehicle continues on a nominal trajectory. But holy cow, oh, man, like where do we even go from here? I guess we could be spicy right off the bat. But Joe, it looks like you have thoughts.
I have a better than thoughts. I should have brought this up when EJ was talking about books too. I have a book.
Oh, great book,
Hold on.
man.
If you give me a minute, I bookmarked this. I really like. I had other plans today, and then this happened, and I was like, "Well, this is what I'm doing." Scott Manley in typical Manley fashion, he put out a video basically instantly. It had to be within 30 seconds of it happening. He puts out this great video where he talks about what happened. But I've got a book that talks a little bit about how these nozzles are usually built, and it's similar between amateur and professional rocketry. It's just the professional stuff, they do it way better and with like crazy certification. But so in the throat, I'm not sure how well this will come across, but you've got these cross sections here, and you have a graphite throat, right? Let's see, I think that's in like the middle. You got a graphite throat, and then you've got like an ablative exit cone. Wow, this is just not going to come across at all, is it?
I mean, I was able to see it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we got it to focus for a second, man.
Okay, cool. That's good enough. You've got a graphite throat and a phenolic exit cone, and Scott posits the theory, and I agree with him, that it's just at that interface between the phenolic or composite. I think it's like a carbon phenolic exit cone, and so there's some seal that has to happen there, and that's probably what did it. So if you don't have full coverage on your ablative material, the steel or whatever they've got, that's the actual cone, is not going to survive, right? So anyway, I think that's where the failure starts, and you can see it in some of these tracking shots too. I think you guys have some of them. It starts really close to the throat of the nozzle. Like, it is incredible that it did not fail worse. Yeah.
Now, real quick, Joe, you were talking about phenolic carbon. For the uninitiated, if you guys have no idea what it means, the inside of this nozzle it's spicy. No, it's made out of heat shield. That's how SRBs have to have some type of passive cooling system, because they can't like run liquid propellant through the nozzle like the BE4 could, or like Raptor or the shuttle main engine.
You can't run solid propellant through the nozzle to heat up the solid propellant to make the.
Dude, I'm sure someone could figure that out. I mean, all I'm picturing is like Play-Doh when you like push it through, and you know the thing, and it just kind of shoots out.
You get
like
the star shape. You switch to the moon shape. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Anyway, so yeah, if you're wondering like what phenolic carbon is with a graphite around the throat, it's basically a heat shield. They put there's a heat shield. There's an ablator heat shield on the inside of the nozzle that keeps the nozzle cool, because as Joe said, yeah, it'll eat through the steel pretty fast. It's hot in there.
A little bit. All right, so unless anyone has anything, let's jump into some questions. I get to ask the first question. I just want to thank Jake,
by the way, for pulling that photo up. That's what I was talking about before with the curve.
Oh, heck yeah. Thank you, Sawyer.
There, see it at the top right? It's a nice, beautiful curve, and then just a root.
Wow,
That's the official term for it, a root.
Yeah, it's the aerospace industry accepted terminology. But I get to ask the first question because I'm the host. Aha, host privilege. So the FAA said no investigation necessary. Thoughts? EJ, I'll let you go first.
I don't know if you guys out there that are watching remember the video about where Das talked to people from the FAA. It was an NSF video, and he basically said that the Department of Defense and NASA can shoulder the certification process if they need to, and they can kind of do a separate like certification process for like public safety. They can shoulder the risk of public safety if they want to. So I'm going to go ahead and guess, because this was a certification mission for the national security space launch contracts, that's probably what happened here. So it doesn't warrant an investigation. But
EJ, there's a Merlin firing behind you, so it looks like you have the cartoon smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah.
Like you look.
I'm so angry about this.
Oh, that's perfect. Please continue.
And there's
No,
sorry, Skip.
I mean, yeah, no. This is it's great. That's pretty cool.
Rocket
You know, the nozzle is not, in fact, delaminating because liquid fuel is going through. Well, part of it, but
Oh.
you get the idea. Anyway. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, they kind of make sense, but also at the same time, like anybody here want to start grilling the FAA? Because like I get it. It kind of makes sense to me.
I
I
mean,
mean, go ahead, Sawyer.
I think it's also worth noting that the launch license is licensed by the FAA, but this isn't the same launch license that we're used to. If I recall, this is the older launch license, which has a very different definition of the term anomaly and what requires the mishap investigation. And with it, it's basically just did it go out of its planned trajectory and did it kill anybody? If the answer is no, then it was fine. So it's a lot more vague in what it covers. If this were under the newer license, I have a feeling this would require an investigation, but under the current license, it does not.
Yeah, that is a good shout, Sawyer. It's a different licensing process, or I guess the new ones are the Part 400 or something like that, or is it Part 450? Either way, I'm not a FAA person,
That one.
but that does
So-
make sense.
What apparent? Okay, so yeah, just with clarification here, the FAA did have part of the permitting process, guys, but it was the older one, so the DoD did not shoulder the risk for this. Did I understand that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, if that's the case, I mean, I don't know. I mean, ULA isn't submitting changes to Vulcan every like 5 minutes, but also at the same time, like, no investigation here for a national security cert mission. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah, Alex is saying in our back channel that it most likely would not have required an investigation even under the new regulations, but interesting. Yeah, 450 is the new one. Thank you. Joe,
I
thought?
I think like official FAA investigation or not, if I'm Tory Bruno or if I'm someone at ULA, I'm placing like a really fun call to Aerojet, or I guess not Aerojet,
Northrop.
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 I'm gonna have a really great call with Northrop. They're gonna have a tough Friday. Yeah. No,
That's
for
fair.
how much you pay for these things, like for it to do that is crazy.
Yeah, and this is only what the second flight of these particular variants of the GEM motor, but it's basically the same as the old ones, just extended. If I'm remembering that correctly. So interesting.
Well, 63 versus the 63 XL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more propellant, and you're pushing more through the nozzle, and it's a curved nozzle. I haven't totally worked out the points I want to make on this, but like it's a curved nozzle, and curved nozzles
Welcome to the
are a
flame
lot
trench,
different
dude.
for solid rockets than they are for liquid rockets, because liquid rockets you're directing what is entirely just gas. It's like really nice. It behaves really well. It's predictable to deal with. With solids, you're redirecting when you curve the nozzle. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but like when you curve the nozzle, you're redirecting solid material. It's not just gas that's coming out. You've got aluminum oxides, you've got unburned AP, you've got all sorts of stuff that's coming out, hydrochloric acid, and you're redirecting all these like insane things. And so that's why you see mostly conical nozzles with solids. It's just really hard to build ablators that can effectively redirect that stuff. So I don't know. If I'm Northrop, I'm taking a really hard look at like how tight the like maybe it's a manufacturing thing, but it's probably just that I'm really out on a limb. I bet they're using the same nozzle layup process. They're using the same nozzle assembly process as they did for the 63, not just the 63 XL. And with the XL, you're pushing a lot more propellant. And it's 5,000 pounds of extra propellant. Does anyone know off the top of their head? It's like
I do not.
I can get it. Give me 1 second.
Go, EJ, go.
we need the Northrop Grumman propulsion catalog.
Well, pull it up right quick. Let's go back for a second while you're doing that. And Jay, let's take a look at the regs. Let's look at the FAA regs. Because we were showing on screen the old style and the new style. Let's take a look at that. All right, so this is what Vulcan was licensed under. This is the old style, quote unquote old. Quote, mishap means a launch or re-entry accident, launch or re-entry incident, launch site accident, failure to complete a launch or re-entry as planned, or an unplanned event or series of events resulting in a fatality or serious injury as defined in etc., or resulting in greater than $25,000 worth of damage to the payload, a launch or re-entry vehicle, a launch or re-entry support facility, or government property located on the launch or re-entry site. That seems pretty clear, cut and dry. Like, no investigation required. It did not meet any of those thresholds, I suppose is the word I would use there. So
How do you measure the damage, though, of an entire nozzle flying off?
All right, and I think these are the new ones under Part 450, if I'm not mistaken. No, these are still old. Still old. Sorry,
old.
I'm an idiot. Launch accident means an event that causes a fatality or serious injury to any person who is not associated with the flight. An event that causes damage estimated to exceed $25,000 to property not associated with the flight that is not located at the launch site or designated recovery area. An unplanned event during the flight of a launch vehicle resulting in the impact of a launch vehicle, its payload, or any component thereof. For an expendable launch vehicle outside the designated impact lines, and for a reusable launch vehicle outside the designated landing site. Interesting that it calls out reusable or expendable. Or for a launch that takes place with a person on board, a fatality or serious injury to a spaceflight participant or crew member. Launch incident. Wow, I'm good at reading. I'm sorry. Launch incident means an unplanned event during the flight of a launch vehicle, other than a launch accident, involving the malfunction of a flight safety system or a safety critical system, or failure of the licensee's or permittee's safety organization, design, or operations. So I guess
Do we need to get the Fish and Wildlife Service involved?
Oh God, please
because
no.
the exit cone probably could hurt some fish. So maybe we should give them a call.
There's like a dolphin somewhere out in the Gulf with a nozzle over its beak. Right.
Let's give them a call. You know.
Please no. God no. Okay, wait. We have the Gen 46 here. EJ, go.
Propellant mass. So they give you the total propellant mass. Yeah. And I'm looking for the difference between the 63 and the 63 XL. I don't think it's that different, but it's a higher pressure and it's a shorter burn. So there's more mass flux per second through the
EJ,
nozzle.
really quickly, EJ, you're 0 by 0. I'm not sure what's happening there. You might be muted.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, the mic. It should be good now. Sorry about that, fellas. Running off not a lot of sleep. I'll do better. So
still sounds like still no you. I'm not seeing 5x5s in chat.
Really.
Oh, there we
There
go.
we go.
5x5. Yay! All right, you're good. Sorry. Please continue.
Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, Joe, the difference is about 7,000 pounds between 6.3 and 6.3 XL for your propellant weight. So anyway, do with that information.
EJ, can you, while you're there, can you look at the difference in burn time too? Because I think someone said they're pushing. It's faster, right? So it's a higher pressure.
Yep. It's so 63 is a 97.6 second burn time, and the 63 XL is 87.3. Sorry about the microphone, fellas. I haven't slept in 2 days.
It happens.
Yeah. So
My
you're
bad,
pushing.
folks.
You're pushing slightly more prop, faster through the same area. And if they try to do, as wise Delta 3 people did, reuse the same things from vehicle to vehicle, sometimes you get bit by that, right?
Yes.
And so that. I don't, we're all the way in speculation land, but if they were using the same nozzle layup techniques and materials and whatever, it is a higher mass flux. So it's more, said in a simpler way, it's more stuff hitting the wall per unit second, and that would strip it away faster. So The other thing, and this is crazy, like all the way in crazy land here. Oh, great. Yeah, get my name on there. So motor performance changes with ambient temperature, and you can actually see this.
Yep.
EJ or whoever's scrolling through the propulsion catalog on the 63XL, they show you the down 3 sigma and up 3 sigma of basically those are your like standard deviations of motor performance. So that plot there is going to show you how the motor performs at 90 Fahrenheit, how it performs at 70, how it performs at 50, and it is a little different. So there is like some maybe hand wavy theory that because the first cert flight with these solids flew in January, right? Am I wrong about that?
No, you're correct. That's correct.
No, that's right.
Cold temperature, solid motor, something, whatever. We don't have to get into it, but cold, so it's a lower performance in January, a slightly slower burn. It's going to be a harder burn in October than it is in January.
It's interesting.
So, the real question here at this point, sorry, Jack, I don't mean to interrupt.
Please.
The real question is why did SRM1 have a problem but not 2, right? Like,
yeah, that's why I'm sort of wondering where is this failure going to end up getting pinned? Like, was it something manufacturing side? Because you have to figure that Northrop has tested a bunch of these things. They're smart people, etc. Could there have been some sort of, and again, we're way into the speculation weeds, but this is, hey, you're in the flame trench. Could there have been some sort of issue during shipping, where the nozzle gets knocked against something? I don't know. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm just going to be...
GPS-2A comes to mind.
Yeah, right.
Jack, that is the problem. It wasn't pinned.
Sawyer. No, that was
Hi, Jack.
good. That was good. I think we do some questions at this point. Is that, or do we have more? Oh, I see a graph in the preview.
One thing I do want to mention while
Look
we're
at
talking
this
about the FAA part there, the whole safety thing, I think it's also worth noting that, if I'm correct, this vehicle just has a flight termination system, not the automated flight termination system that other vehicles have now. So I know people are saying, like, well, the flight termination system didn't activate. This one wasn't an automatic activation, like we're used to seeing, where as soon as it passes a red line, it goes, oh, that's it, kablooey. This is, manually monitored as well. So the fact that they were watching those numbers, saw that correction, and someone physically looked and said, nope,
it's fine.
It's still functioning. It's not a danger. Let it fly, and it flew.
I had a
good
huge
point.
argument with someone about this around the time of Astra's famed power slide. And this person was arguing that AFTS is better in all cases. And it's like, I don't think so. In the case of new vehicles that are not well understood, it's better that you have a human who looks at it and says, tires are still on there. We should probably keep going,
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Let's do some questions. How about?
Or just on DY's
actually-
chat saying stubby SRB good.
I mean, it certainly
No,
wasn't as
T-
bad as it could have been.
No. No.
This is like what Max gets for being such a fan of the stubby Merlin nozzle. He got a stubby solid just as a treat. Joe Pipel is asking, how close was this to a total loss of vehicle? Well, Tori was saying on X, the Everything app, that it was not close to a loss of the vehicle. But Joe, you were saying a few minutes ago, if this had been sort of coming from a different part of that closure between the nozzle and the casing, maybe tank facing or BE4 facing, it could have been not as good, right? Like there was some luck involved.
I like Tori Bruno. I think he's cool. He's very active and seems responsive and honest on Twitter. And he also has deep financial incentive to not say my vehicle almost blew up.
Right.
And I don't know the engineering, right? I don't have the CAD. That does not look great to me. And I feel like they were fairly close.
I mean, Joe, you said it a little bit earlier. All it's going to take is if that jet goes on the other side and you get FOD getting that explosion near the outside of the B4, and the engine section, you're looking at a bad day, a real bad day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Because we're in the flame trench, I'm going to ask this question. John is asking, Joe, do you have your own flame trench planned for your space shot?
My flame trench is called a concrete pad in the desert.
Nice. Yeah. If
baby.
y'all don't know, Joe is working on a space shot, and has been posting some amazing process videos in the lead up to that. Very much looking forward to seeing where that goes. I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, Joe, but it's literally like, wake up, babe, new BPS space video just dropped, like every time. And YouTube knows. That's the best part. The YouTube algorithm knows, and so I'll just start up YouTube and I'll be like, hey, bro, I got something for you, and I'm like, yes. So
Thanks,
keep up
Jack.
the good work. Keep
I
up the good
appreciate
work.
it. Thank you.
Dudes, I do see some questions in chat, but somebody asked with the name EJ. Nice.
Yeah.
Is this the same type of booster failure as the shuttle? Well, yes and no. The shuttle's using the shuttle and SLS use segmented boosters. So because solid rocket boosters are absurdly heavy, because they're fully fueled. All your fuel is packed in right from in the manufacturing process. I mean, Joe, you know all about that, right? Like these things are super heavy. So like for a solid rocket booster that big, you got to transport in segments. What happened with the shuttle is that, so like if this is a side profile of like the top of and gift this, LSR, please. If this is a side profile of the top one of the segments, and this is a side profile of the bottom, it's clevest. So it moves in like that, and then there's two O-rings right there. Those SRBs from the shuttle failed at the segment. That's a little bit different than nozzle burn through, or whatever happened here.
Right. Tori did confirm on X the everything that it's that was a nozzle burn through, not a casing burn through. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, EJ, the shuttle, Challenger's failure was also not technically a casing burn through because it was at the joint between segments, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's a little bit different because of just mechanically how the SRB is made, right? Compared to the GM63XL, which is basically just a huge pipe with the nozzle at the bottom,
right,
with a gas impingement at the bottom. It's manufactured as one case, so a little bit different, but a similar failure mode. Either one of these are going to cause a radial jet. That jet that Joe was talking about right at the top end of this when we started talking
about it.
It's like a blowtorch. Yes, it is. And depending on where it fails, it could be bad. Like I said a little bit earlier, GPS-2A, that was a Delta II launch in 1997, and one of the casings on one of the Delta II SRBs failed completely. It failed completely because someone dropped it. That's what happened, and it unzipped on the actual cylindric casing and basically decided that the whole part of the Delta II the whole bottom part of the Delta II SRBs and all didn't need to exist anymore. Right. Like 30 seconds into the flight.
Oh, the footage
this
from
famous
that one.
footage, dude,
Yeah.
Unreal, just raining down like HTPB everywhere. It's like, yeah, okay. That we didn't see that, thankfully. I was kind of waiting for that to happen when I saw the sparks come out. I was like, oh no, please don't. But yeah.
There's some fun stories about the insurance claims after that launch, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, the employee who had their car in the parking lot and tried to go to their insurer and say, no, really, it was a rocket. And they're like, get out
A
of
rocket
here.
just crashed into my truck. Yeah.
Good deal. Delta 3 was mentioned earlier, so I have to ask, Joe, every time you drive past the Delta 3 upper stage on the 5, do you get happy or do you get like ominous vibes? How do you feel when you drive past that thing?
I feel in awe as if driving past a religious figure, almost. Delta 3 serves a spiritual purpose in my life, for the most part. Yeah.
That's amazing. Everyone that has no idea what we're talking about because they don't live in California, off the 5 interstate, as you're driving between LA and the OC, there is like a science center, and they have a Delta 3 upper stage, and Delta 3 was a notoriously cursed failed rocket program. So it's like, look at this cool rocket we have on display. Don't worry about what it did. Don't worry about what it did. Cool. Let's see. Fendis Nye is asking, how common or rare is this solid rocket motor problem like we saw today?
It's happened.
I'm just going to throw this one at Joe.
Once every 2019 and 2024.
There you go. Ben
Actually,
Gilbert asked... No, go ahead.
We should provide some. I just want to provide some context for that. The almost exact same thing happened to the Omega solid booster static test that Northrop did in 2019. And I don't know if we can pull up the footage of that. But Northrop wanted to develop a rocket to send things into space, and they had a really big solid booster, and they had a really long nozzle extension that exploded off of it at the very end of the burn. And it was one of those things where the motor kept pressure, it burned at the same time. It's just that they lost the nozzle extension. So whoever's doing nozzle extensions at Northrop, it's time for, it's time to talk about your job performance a little bit.
Well, it's
Remember, it
not
wasn't
just
an explosion; it was an observation.
Yeah,
That's right.
famously, that is where the
And-
meme came from.
And they repeated it on the ULA website for the Cert 2 debrief. They said, Tori said, this is an observation.
Yeah. Okay.
Just say the nozzle fell off. That's okay.
Right. This is like some inside baseball stuff. But in our back channel during that stream, it was like, "Oh, Tori's talking. Do we want to see?" And it's like, "Yes, let's switch to what Tori's saying." And then we cut to that. Tori starts saying that there was an observation, and at the same time, there's people in our back channel saying "I wonder if he's going to say observation." And sure enough, he called it an observation. I don't know. Sometimes reality's pretty great, I gotta say.
I mean, fairly recently too, fellas. This isn't Northrop Grumman and their nozzle extension department, but the Europeans, Avio is having problems with the Zafiro 40, the second stage for Vega. They had this exact problem on I think it was the second Vega C flight. The Zafiro 40 basically decided it didn't need a nozzle anymore on the way up, and whatever they did, they burned out the casing because they weren't able to maintain thrust, and the thing, that Vega C went into the ocean. And then they made a change to it. They fired that on the test stand, and that failed. It was only actually this week that they test fired the Zafiro 40 again with the redesigns, and it got it to work right. So, this problem doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. There's SRBs, Joe can attest to this. If you read about SRBs, you're basically inflating a metal balloon and shooting gas out the back. It's a pretty violent process going on in there.
Yeah. And to back up just a little bit, Avio is kind of like the Looney Tunes of the aerospace industry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah, I don't want to make a direct comparison, but I don't know. I never threw out flight hardware.
Dude, I can't.
Right.
Oh my
They
god.
were
that was
we don't
brutal.
know where the propellant tanks went, and they found it in a landfill. Crazy. And then sorry, I have a righteous rage about this. They swapped the X and Y TVC cables. They swapped it, didn't do a pre-flight TVC wiggle that would have caught it, and then it gets sent into the ocean. And anytime, this is just an engineering thing in general. It's not even aerospace. Don't make two connectors able to connect to each other that shouldn't connect, right?
Right.
There's a world of types of connectors that you can use on your device, on your rocket, whatever. Any connector that shouldn't connect to something else should just be a different type. There's hundreds of
Yes.
types.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all.
Yeah.
Or just make everything USB-C.
No.
Oh.
God, no. God, no.
The opposite of that. You need
Alex
USA,
telling
you
me-
need B, you need micro.
Yeah. There
Mini,
you go.
Firewire
Guys.
400, 800. Let's go SCSI. Let's do this.
Scuzzy
we have the
Guys,
we have the observation video here. Let's see if we can catch the Omega test with Rudd
and
here.
Alex was telling me that because it's the Zafiro 40, it's an observazione.
There you go.
So wait, if this was the Omega rocket, is that technically an Omega law? That's a Twitch joke.
Oh,
still.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
All right, I'll allow it.
Just for EJ's Twitch community.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, that nozzle. Sorry, I just saw it on the replay. Yeah,
No,
Yeah, no,
that-
fine.
it definitely there. That's something to observe. That's for sure.
Yep.
Well, a couple more questions. We have more of a philosophical question. I can talk. From
Not
Wolf.
not
Okay.
No,
philosophical.
we're not talking about SLS today.
Are we though?
Well, we might later. Wolf 480PL is saying, is propulsion a safety critical system? Discuss. EJ?
Yeah. Your rocket without the rocket engine isn't going very far. You made a nice grain silo. Yeah, that's kind of needed.
Yeah.
I would say yes,
mean,
pretty conclusively. Yeah.
This is per the FAA regs we were talking about. I don't know. I mean, if it's going far away enough, fast enough, when it loses propulsion, technically it's not safety critical, right? Because there's exclusion zones.
But
Maybe?
did it technically lose propulsion? It caught right
That's
back
fair.
up.
That's fair. It didn't
It
really
just lost
lose
a piece. It still had the momentum. It had enough energy to make it to its planned orbit. It didn't blow up. The payload survived,
Right.
albeit this was a payload that no one really cared about because it's essentially a block of inert nothing, but...
Right.
You need like a meme of like me and Vulcan, and then the two hands joining is like trying to achieve something and falling apart on the way there.
Yes. That's
You
amazing.
son of a gun.
That's amazing. But we don't have to guess. There actually is a definition of what a safety critical system is from the FAA. I don't know if we can bring that up right quick, but we're just throwing Jay for a loop here today. We love you, Jay. Thanks for operating the stream. Yeah, safety critical means essential to the safe performance or operation. Safety critical system, subsystem, component, condition, event, operation, process, or item. God, you gotta love bureaucracy. Is one whose proper recognition, control, performance, or tolerance is essential to ensuring public safety and the safety of property. Yeah. All right. Thanks, FAA. There it is. There's the thing I just read. Supersonic Retro Propulsion is asking, do we know if the GEM motors have a spin cast liner or some other method? Joe's shaking his head. What's the deal,
Can
Joe?
you call on me?
Oh, Joe Bernard.
Oh, thank you, Professor. Okay, so they have an EPDM liner, which stands for... Hold on. EPDM. I know all sorts of terms. Ethylene anytime you get to say big chemical names that you don't fully understand, you look smarter than you are. So
right, like triethylborane, triethyl aluminum. I'm so smart.
Ethylene propylene diene monomer. EPDM is a rubber. It's just a piece of rubber. It's like HTPB is what binds a lot of these things together. That's also a rubber. Yeah, and it just ablates really slowly. So they use EPDM. Oftentimes it has a little bit of Kevlar in there, and it comes in sheets. So you bind in these sheets, and then you line the inside of the casing. In this case, actually, Northrop has a great video on this too. They like published a bunch of their process on it. Not all the details, but yeah, they wind the case around this EPDM material, so it's not spin cast. And that's it. It works pretty well. It's usually got a little Kevlar in there and a couple other things.
And HTPB, for the uninitiated, is hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene.
Look how smart you look. You got to say the big name.
No, I know, man. That's why I chimed in.
I love that.
Need all the help I can get.
I literally will take any chance I can get to say triethylborane. I'll just weasel it in there. I'll be like, I'll be on a date, and I'll be like, hey, you ever heard of triethylborane? And she'll be like,
there's a lot of good ones too.
I need to go.
Nitrogen tetroxide.
Of course, an influencer would know that.
Yeah.
You're my favorite influencer, Jack.
Stop it. Oh, God. Why, Joe? Why? I thought we were friends, man.
Oh, no.
Ben Gilbert's asking, I'm working on a space shot using APCP for my high school. What advice do you have, Joe? I know
Start
in previous...
small and do it in steps. It's really, really dangerous to make your own motors in ways that you won't understand until you're like 40. And it's not because you don't try or not because you're not smart or anything. There's just tons of stuff that you have to learn through experience or through mentors. So my one big advice is like, you gotta be working with people who have done it before.
Right.
I'll give you a quick anecdote that I can't really give you a lot of details on. About 10 years ago, there was a solid motor like mixing accident in the professional aerospace industry. So these are people who like super know what they're doing. And I heard this from a buddy of mine like a couple of days ago. They were mixing. It was something like 90,000 pounds of propellant or something like that, and they were working on it. There's 3 technicians in the casting pit, and they closed a ball valve that they weren't supposed to close. The whole thing went up in flames, and the only remnants of those people is the teeth of one of the people. So
Jeez.
do not mess around with this without a mentor. That is my advice.
Yeah,
Like
wow,
I was saying,
that's grisly. But
SRBs are very
Yeah,
energetic. They let out a lot of freedom.
no, you're good.
Fast.
I did not know enough to do this stuff in high school, and I only know enough to do it around other people right now. So rockets are really cool and super fun, and you should totally build them. Just you got to be safe doing it because you don't have an opportunity to like hit the undo button when things go wrong.
Can't reload an old save. It's not a video game. At least if it is,
Also,
we don't know it yet.
Probably note that was not that video. That was video of them making one of the Gem 63 regulars.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Thank you, Sawyer. But no, I didn't know if you were going to bring up the mentor thing in answering that, but I'm glad you did because I remember watching. I forget, it was one of your most recent videos where you specifically called that out, basically saying, this stuff's really serious. Don't mess around. Make sure you talk to and get advice from people that have experience and know better. And that advice is good for all of life, not just extremely dangerous rocket motor construction. But I do think that's extremely good advice. Find a mentor if you can.
Yeah,
whatever.
And a lot of safety stuff. I mean, you guys are all anyone into rockets knows this too. But like a lot of safety stuff is really an attitude problem at heart, and you can correct that pretty well by just having other people who are around you who are smart. Like you get a lot more done, and you end up a lot safer if you're doing it with people who can help. Anyway, not to get too into the mentorship stuff, but I really recommend it.
Good deal.
I mean, you want to know how energetic SRB propellant is, Joe? Like we don't, there's your story, and then there's the PepCon explosion.
Yep.
We don't. You need to look no further than that. There was nothing left of that factory.
Right.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, until like the crazy Beirut explosion, like the PepCom was like that was like one of the explosions of all time. If I may say so.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened at PepCon, just in case was that anybody was wondering, is when they grounded in 1986, Challenger happened and they grounded the shuttle program, and they were gearing up. They were making all the solid rocket propellant for gearing up to launch 24 shuttles in 1 year and then 48 shuttles in the next year. So they were scaling their production. So when the shuttle program got grounded, they had a factory full of solid rocket propellant that shouldn't have been full of solid rocket propellant. And because Murphy's Law, it found a source of ignition, and the factory proceeded to not exist after that.
Right.
Yeah, good way to say that.
All right. One more question. John James is asking, how many of these failures over the past few launches have been down to one type of seal or another? Turns out valves are hard, and so are seals. But I mean, I'm so out of my element. I mean, I know the solid rocket boosters for shuttle used what did you call it, EJ? A clevis? It's like a manufacturing term?
A clevis with O-rings between the segments, and it's important to mention that it was redesigned after Challenger from just a clevis like this to a clevis like that. That's for other reasons, but yeah, and also a tertiary O-ring, so triple O-rings instead of double. But
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this, again, the GEM 63 XLs are a solid, like a monolithic thing. There's not segments, but
it's a single case booster. It's huge. That thing is gigantic. It's it's big for a single. It's the biggest. I mean, what's a bigger single case SRB? The only thing I can think of is
advertising point. It is the largest monolithic solid motor.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing I think that was bigger, I mean, not flown, was the AJ260. The one that they put in the pit in Florida and fired.
Oh,
that was a single case.
That was a big boy.
Yeah, that was a big one. But that thing never flew. They tested it once and said, okay.
And then also, by the way, when it comes to seals, don't club them, please.
Yeah.
but do put headphones on them and play sonic boom sounds to determine if it's okay to launch your rocket from various places.
Jack, can you call me again, Professor?
Let's see. Someone in the Joe.
I heard this through the grapevine, but there's no better group of people to ask, so I'll just ask it here. Wasn't the result of that study with the seals and the sonic booms and the headphones, wasn't the result that they were like slightly more interested in mating? Am I making that
Yes.
up?
No, I feel like that's correct. I don't know
I'm
that
pretty
for a
sure
fact.
that was the.
Just saying.
I heard that. I don't know if it's true.
We
Do I
might have
make
just
the joke or
solved.
do I not?
We might have just solved ecology. Don't make the joke, Sawyer. We're moving on. Well, I
What
can't.
just happened?
Yeah, a lot of things, EJ. Nam is asking why graphite. Why use graphite in that throat area? This is like right up Joe's alley here.
Graphite does not like melting. I mean, anything will melt with enough heat, but graphite's really resistant to melting. So it's mostly that. Okay, so you have a case. You have it. Let's assume you're using a steel case. Even a carbon fiber case would fit this too. But let's assume something simple. So steel melts at what? Some temperature. I don't really know. I should know these things, but it melts hot. It melts at a hot temperature, but not nearly as hot as solid propellant burns. So you have to hold the nozzle in a way that isolates the heat from the throat. Hold on. There's a better way to describe this. Anyway, graphite is not going to melt or erode, but it is going to get really, really hot. It actually gets white hot. Like if you could take a camera and somehow make it survive inside a rocket nozzle, that's a solid rocket nozzle, you'd see a white hot glowing piece of graphite. But the graphite, the reason that we use a multi-material nozzle, so first we don't use phenolic in the throat because there's so much stuff coming through the throat of the nozzle that you want a really consistent and predictable size. So the graphite doesn't melt and it doesn't erode, but it's also very brittle. And the outer parts of the nozzle, especially the wider parts, are more prone to cracking. The more graphite you have, the more thermal stress there is within the whole piece of graphite, and graphite can crack with thermal stress too. So you use the minimum amount possible of graphite in the throat of the rocket nozzle, and then you surround it with any type of phenolic ablative. So it could be linen phenolic. In most of these gem motors, I think it's carbon phenolic. Phenolic is the resin, carbon fiber would be the weave in the composite material. And the phenolic acts as an insulator between the steel and the hot graphite. So anyway, that's why we use graphite, because we need a throat that is a really predictable size. And then we use the phenolic because it ablates away and removes the heat, and it also protects the steel or the carbon fiber casing.
Makes sense. And again, if you want a better insight into all of this stuff, you should be already subscribed. But you should subscribe if you're not to BPS Space on YouTube, Joe's YouTube channel. Again, I called you a filmmaker at the top of the show because just like the beautiful process shots of making these motors and installing the nozzle or milling the nozzle. Like, I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it.
Thanks, Jack.
So that was Vulcan. I think we're pretty good on Vulcan. Joe, you are welcome to stick around for the rest of the topics if you want. I know you're a busy man though, so if you want to split at any point, just hit the big red button that we installed on your desk this morning.
Okay, sounds good. I'm probably going to split now, but
right.
It's been awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, literally any time you want to be on. I'm not even kidding. Literally any time. I know we're both super busy. It's hard to make things work, but please come back soon. We love you.
All right. Thanks so much, Jack. Thanks so much, EJ and Sawyer. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Good to see you, buddy.
Manufacture the eject motor. Careful hitting the button.
Oh, God.
All right. I'll see you guys.
See ya.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
We have Joe's info in chat. There also is a new Nightbot command. BPS, I believe, is the ! command for Nightbot to get the link to Joe's channel. So be sure. I mean, literally everybody here should already be subbed. But anyways, let's do some support. How about let's thank some people for supporting what we do, and then let's move on to our next topic of the day, which is going to be Falcon 9 getting grounded again. How's that sound to y'all?
I mean,
I'm here for it. I like
the
this
grounding
plan.
part doesn't sound great.
Well, you know, it sassed mouthed its dad too many times, and it's going to bed without dinner. It's grounded. All right.
That was good.
Bruce T. Bruce T. Thanks for becoming a Capcom member. Danny Bradshaw, Red Team member. Thank you. Luca becoming a Padrat member. Don Marshall becoming a Padrat member. Rage SFS also becoming a Red Team member. Bideford, holy crap, Bideford, gifting 20 Red Team memberships. You're the best. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, we can't do this stuff without the member program. So that's why we're thinking John. I got Joe on the brain. John Depker. Thank you for upgrading to Capcom. You get Discord access at Capcom and above. Bloodhound. Thank you for the support. Katya. Thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Ellie Mary becoming a Capcom member. Moldy Space. We love you, Moldy. They say, would jokes about ULA now be considered observational humor? I see what you did there. I'm surprised Sawyer didn't make that one. That's Sawyer grade pun right there. Quality. But I don't expect anything else from Moldy.
So are bad jokes then Northrop Grumman nozzle grade?
Ooh.
Oh God.
Please. Let's wait. Let's wait and see where the failure. It might not be. It might be whoever was contracted to actually transport it from, I assume, Promontory to Decatur and then Florida or what have you. Hype train? Well, I still do not understand what the honk is for. What is the honk for?
Not a honk, it's a chew.
Transported by train. Oh, okay, because it was transported by train. Thank you. It's the SRB. Okay. All right. Chris, thank you for the 10 curly L's. We talked about the FAA investigation thing. Ninja Decimator. Pew, pew, pew. Thank you for gifting. Hey, Jay's on the ball today. Thanks for gifting 5 Red Team memberships, Ninja. Billy Charleston, Padrat member. Minor Downfall. Asking if Vulcan can compete reliably against Ariane 6. Yeah, I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
One of them actually launches.
Yeah, right. Observations or not. And yeah, let's move right along. Oh, here's one. Space Pope. The Space Pope with a $50 super chat. Holy cow. Thank you, Space Pope. Saying that they're donating to the SRB Raincoat Fund. That's gonna need to be a pretty thick raincoat. Maybe some sort of ablative material. I don't know. Either way, thank you, Space Pope. That's a tremendous amount of support. So we appreciate you. And
needed though, because SRB exhaust. In case those who don't know, the stuff the residual that it leaves is quite tingly if you're not protected.
Right. When you're picking up remote cameras and you get some of that residue on your hands, you feel it. You feel it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's basically like burning a tire. I mean, we were talking about the materials this stuff's made of. It's all just different rubbers. It's just a space tire that's getting burnt in tube form. Is that fair, EJ? You're giving me some eyes.
No. Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, sure. Yeah.
Yay.
I prefer forbidden Play-Doh.
Also good. Also good. All right. Cool. Let's talk about Falcon 9. EJ, what's going on with Shrew 9?
You did it again.
I did. Shrew 9. Shrew 9.
Okay, so Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbunov launched to the ISS over the this last weekend on a Falcon 9, and they did get up to the ISS. They got up there. They docked on Sunday, but Dragon, everything kind of seemingly went really well. But SpaceX seemed to Saturday night they posted. Actually, that's Sunday morning, because you can tell from the way it is. SpaceX said that they had some problems. Sorry, it's pretty neat. How neat is that? SpaceX had some problems with the deorbit burn. So after Falcon 9's second stage is done, depositing Dragon into low Earth orbit, so after it completes its nominal orbit insertion, it kind of goes for a second, and then they do a deorbit burn. The deorbit burn for the Crew 9 second stage was off nominal for whatever reason. It didn't do the full burn. It was the tweet's kind of indescript. We don't really know what happened. Obviously, there's no footage of it that's available to the public, right? But the off nominal burn resulted in the second stage coming down in the ocean outside of the targeted kind of designated safety area, and SpaceX doesn't. They said so at the bottom there. It's kind of very telling. We will resume launch after we better understand root cause. So that tells me that whatever went wrong wasn't very apparent, and SpaceX kind of voluntarily grounded Falcon 9. And then the FAA was like, it doesn't matter if you did it voluntarily. Hey guys, you remember us, the FAA? You remember us? Yeah, you're probably going to need to look into that before you launch more of these. And SpaceX like, yeah, we know, man. We no. So yeah, we didn't see any Falcon 9 launches this week because of whatever happened with that second stage. Now, guys, I love SpaceX, but here's the thing, like that's three different failures that have happened over the last 2 months. Now, one of them was just weird recovery conditions for 1062. I'm pretty dang sure, but the other one with the pressure transducer on the second stage causing that LOX leak, and now whatever happened here. Yeah, this is, once it happens, if it happens one time, all right, not a big deal. It happens another time, okay, probably look into it. It happens 3 times, well, that's a pattern. And especially SpaceX, it's kind of telling, like I said, that they're like, okay, we got to figure out what this is, because that tells me that whatever failed wasn't very apparent at the start, or like at least initially. Like, okay, let me put it to you like this: sometimes failure modes are a lot harder to get to figure out. Like, okay, with ULA with Vulcan, right? That one was pretty straightforward. The fire's coming out of the side instead of the bottom, right? That's
Right.
it's pretty apparent. With this one, if it's between ground stations too, like you're not going to have picture, and once they reestablish telemetry, you don't know exactly what happened. So this one wasn't very apparent. Sometimes it's pretty dang apparent what's going on, and other times it's not. So whatever this is, SpaceX like voluntarily going, no, stop everything, tells me that it's something that at least they know that it's something with the second stage that could be very wrong across all second stages. So yeah, this kind of sucks. I mean, I don't know about you guys, I kind of got used to Falcon 9 every 2 days,
Right.
and
Yeah.
but yeah, this week has been very slow for the space news cycle because there's not many launches to cover.
It's pretty wild.
Interestingly enough,
Whenever
right?
we get one of these anomalies, which has been, like you said, disturbingly, increasingly happening more often.
Yeah.
But SpaceX is also flying way more. But whenever something like this
Yep.
happens and they stand down from launches and things go back to how they were in the before times, it's like, man, it's quiet. What did we do? What did we do
Yeah.
when there was so much
I don't know
less
what to do with my hands.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Yeah, don't worry about it. Nothing. Yeah, this is I don't know, man. It's not great. It's not great, But I have to bring this up, and this is it's Flame Trench. It's going to be spicy. Like, is SpaceX stretching themselves too thin? Like, I think it's an interesting question. Like, I mean, yeah. See, this is Adrian got a statement from the FAA, and the FAA said that they needed they're requiring an investigation. So SpaceX, the root cause wasn't apparent, and then the FAA is like, hey guys, you remember us? So something weird is going on here. Like, and once again, I think the question to ask is SpaceX being stretched too thin? Are they stretching it too thin? They're working on Starship. They got all this stuff going on at Boca Chica. They got Starlink, and all these Falcon 9s, all these second stages that need to be made. I mean, you guys got to remember, like, in order to support a 2-day launch, sub 2-day launch schedule, and do 100 launches, they wanted to do 140 this year. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but
Right.
They're at like 100 and change on the year. That's a second stage. That's a second stage like every 3 days.
Right.
That needs to be made.
Right.
That's ridiculous. I mean, Jack, as you said, they're flying more. So, are they stretching too thin? I don't know. I think it's more, personally, I think we're more in uncharted territory here. No one's ever tried to do this with a rocket, so you're going to uncover failure modes that you never would have found if you didn't fly it 100 times a year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully I'm not going to be called like a SpaceX fanboy for this or what have you, but I think it's more likely that sort of explanation versus them being necessarily stretched thin. It's more like they're flying so much, they're uncovering these harder to find failure modes that would have cropped up at one point or another, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
But because their flight rate is so high, they're more rapidly uncovering these like 1 in 10,000 sort of issues. I don't know.
Yep.
Sawyer, what do you think?
I don't think stretched thin is the right word,
Yeah.
but I would not be surprised if there is that culture, because all of us have come to expect it at this point of, yeah, more launches. We need to get to 140. they didn't hit their goal last year, so they tacked on the 4 that they ended up just short onto the next year. Cool, 148 then we're going for it to make up for the 4 that we just missed out on last year. They're pushing hard, which is good. We need them to push hard, but we've seen this before. I'll be honest, and I know I'm probably going to catch some crud from people on this, but I'm getting Go Fever vibes again. I'm sure there are plenty of teams working. There are people working 24/7 around the clock to make these engines happen, to make these launches happen. I know they are putting all their heart and soul into it. They are putting every ounce of passion that they have into it. But when you're having to make that many engines to that level of perfection around the clock,
Yep.
there's going to be things that either slip through or, we've seen this enough times that we've come to expect it, and when it comes to bite you, it's an oh crap moment.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, especially when it comes to crewed launches, you have to take this stuff so seriously. So that's a fair observation, sir. Can we really quickly go back, Jay? Yeah, this statement from SpaceX. After today's successful launch of Crew 9, Falcon 9's second stage was disposed in the ocean as planned. Can we pick that apart for a second? But experienced an off-nominal deorbit burn. As a result, this second stage safely landed in the ocean, but outside of the target area. That's not as planned. Like, yeah, it went into the ocean. What if it went into a completely different ocean? Does that still count as going into the ocean as planned? What if it was the Indian Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean? I don't know. It's a little bit disingenuous, I feel like.
Safely landed?
Right.
I mean, yeah, it landed. It's outside of what's considered the safe zone. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but meant to be destroyed, but within a certain safe area.
Dude, I'm sure it's fine doesn't fly with spaceflight, right? Like, Joe was talking about this a second ago. I'm sure it's fine. You can't be laissez-faire with safety like this, and you just can't. Like, there's another entity that I can think of that has stages come down uncontrollably, and that's not okay then, and it's not okay here. Like, rockets that are unguided that come back down in an unplanned area, right, and come down and crash, not where you wanted them to. They're not disposed of. It crashes. That's called a missile. Rockets that go up and down, that's called a missile. That's not a rocket. You can't have it both ways here. They have to get it right. You have to get it right. You don't like. I know people are throwing around, people like to give the FAA crap, like, public safety. This is an actual public safety problem. What if this thing came down near a ship?
Right. Yeah.
They deorbit in the South Pacific off the east coast of New Zealand. There's not a lot of ships down there, but there are inhabited islands down there. Like, it's not like totally risk-free. You know what I mean?
Right. Fun.
Oh, yeah. One more thing, Jack. I want to point out that, there is the 1062 landing anomaly, right? And that is something that needed to be looked into. But I'd like to point out here that it's very interesting to me that a lot of Falcon 9's funnies, observations have come from second stage things, the parts of the vehicle that aren't reusable. I think that's an important thing to note here. You don't see much weird stuff happening with the first stages now, do you? Except for 1062 being the one example. But I think just the barge came up at the wrong time and cracked the leg,
Right. Well, I think we've hit it. Well, they are building a second stage every 2 to 3 days.
Yep.
And in fact, that test DJ we were joking about that was going on behind you during the stream a few minutes ago, that was a second stage. That was an MVAC on an entire second stage being tested, which is sort of interesting to note that that's what they're doing down in McGregor. Now, they commonly test second stages there because they get tested there just like Falcon stages, but interesting nonetheless that a second stage was being tested as visible on our 24/7 live stream McGregor Live, which you should know about if you don't. But yeah, I just figured I'd mention that. That's kind of a interesting correlation. I'm not claiming causation, but correlation.
Well, Jack, you said it. Every Merlin vacuum gets tested out at McGregor, right? And we can see all the tests on McGregor Live, as you said, right? But if the cause wasn't apparent immediately, and it was something that you kind of have to go picking through the data for, if you can prove out the failure mode sufficiently, sometimes that fault tree analysis defaults to putting it on the test stand. So like Starliner, for instance, with its thrusters, Boeing couldn't get hands on the hardware, neither could SpaceX with their stage viewer. Boeing couldn't get hands on the thruster blocks, right, on the doghouse. So what did they do? They went to white stands and they started testing things. If you can't figure it out, if it wasn't apparent, you can't prove it from the data, you're going to have to go into the testing site. You're going to have to prove the fault tree that way. So, this could be just a regular Merlin vacuum, or they could be testing a failure mode here. We've seen SpaceX blow stuff up on the test stand, sometimes intentionally. So who knows?
Right.
That burn looked pretty fine to me.
Also, side note, I am sorry. I think I read the wrong thing in our back channel. This one is a regular Merlin. There was a second stage one just before that. But
okay.
That's my bad.
Also, I saw some people, it's kind of semantics, but I still want to bring it up. I saw in chat people saying, oh, but it was the target area. It doesn't say anything about a safety area. That's one and the same, right?
Right.
Essentially, it's they take a block of area and say, hey, boats stay away from it during this time because there's a good chance that there's a piece of rocket hardware that could fall on your head. So they go, okay, we'll stay outside of it and around it. If it doesn't fall within that area and it falls outside and around it where the boats are told it's totally okay, and you get a random rocket part that falls on your head, you got a problem. The odds are astronomically small of it happening, but it's not zero.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair. Well, hopefully SpaceX can figure out what went down and return to flight soon here.
I think they'll return to flight sooner rather than later. There's just a sheer amount of empirical evidence. Guys, we ain't sitting here saying Falcon 9 is a terrible launch vehicle. There's no way. You'd be off your rocker if you thought that. It's one of the best launch vehicles ever devised.
Arguably the best,
ever,
yeah.
Period. Like, when I look at failures, we were looking at Vulcan again, and we brought up, obviously, Challenger, right? And we brought up the GPS-2A, that Delta II that popped, right? We can look to history to kind of bridge the dots and come up with good explanations here. What I like to tell people over on the stream is that, look, the Apollo program is kind of our benchmark, can we compare to them? We need to go back to the moon. That's our benchmark for an ideal space program, dude. Let me put it to you like this. The Apollo engineers wish they had Falcon 9. You wish you had Falcon 9. Yeah, you wish you did. Imagine what they could have done with that thing. But, this is what I mean. We're in uncharted territory. There's no really precedent to compare here to flying sub 2-day launch cadence, 140 plus launches a year. No one's ever done that ever. We're in deep uncharted territory here.
Yeah. Really good to point out. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to thank some more people. How about Craig grabbing a t-shirt from the store? Thank you for that. Charles Hall becoming a Capcom member. Jesus. Ninja Decimator saying Jack and Joe in kilts talking Sigma and kayaks. Lol, sorry, Joe.
Oh my!
Thank you. Thank you, Ninja Decimator.
You just said a bunch of words.
I don't know. I understood some of them. Julie,
also, the fact that Sigma is now being used outside of mathematical things.
Yes, it's a thing.
I don't have the Riz to use it. I'm sorry. I'm not the Rizzler.
Stop it. You're not. I'm kidding.
Don't do that again.
You are.
Then why am I still single? Because I'm not in Ohio?
Oh my God. Sawyer.
All right. That's enough internet for the day.
Sawyer, I'm saying that you need to go outside and touch grass.
Where do you think I was today?
Fair. Oh, that's fair. You were outside. That's fair.
In the grass.
Good deal. RC Horseman gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much, RC. Phil, thank you for the support. They say, EJ, vodka Red Bull will keep you going. Who needs sleep anyway? Also, Jack's guilt fun.
Oh, God. I mean, down to party, but give me a break, man.
Man sleep. Joe Frishoff, or no, Jeff. I got Joe on the brain. Every J name in the queue today. I'm just like, it's Joe. Oh, God,
Everyone
my
is
brain.
just Joe. Just change all
Yeah.
of. Yeah, we need.
I'm Joe Byer.
Jay to
You're
change
Joe
all of our names.
Roycenstein, and EJ is Joe
Johnson, Space
Johnson.
Administration.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Scott Harrod.
Joe running the stream. Joe Keegan.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
That's what J stands for. It's Joe. Julian also, thank you for the store purchase. They say was Vulcan using Risky Batman. That is a propellant that Joe is developing. Go check out his channel. But what you should also check out, speaking of store purchases, is the Flight 5 patch, which is out and looking awesome. I think some people have even started to receive theirs. This is not a pre-order. This is the patches are in our possessions. DOS successfully engaged in a car chase and intercepted the. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, the patches are out. They look great. They commemorate the booster catch that we expect to see on Flight 5. So, yeah, grab one if you can, because when they're gone, they're gone.
Can I just point out, by the way, also that when it came to today, we don't coordinate ahead of time for our outfits of, oh, I'll wear this merch, you wear that merch. We just figure wear NSF shirts. Can I point out that all three of us wore the same shirt?
Wait, why is EJ's blue? Was that an option?
Wait, why?
What? I
Oh!
want blue. How do I get blue?
Awesome.
Not fair.
Yes.
He's blue, Dava.
Oh, why? Not again. Not again, Sawyer.
Oh, listen up. Here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world.
Stop it. But yes, the Thrust collection shirts come in colored and not colored versions. That might be the reason why EJ has blue. I like EJ's. I'm gonna have to talk to Adrian and the store team. Either way, check them out. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. It's a thing. There's all kinds of different stuff there. Check it out. All right. Next topic, shall we?
Let's shall.
Nah, I don't feel like it.
All right, anyways, thanks for watching. Sawyer doesn't feel like it, so we're going to wrap things up there. No, I'm kidding. It's science update time, because assuming SpaceX can get back to launching, we have both Hera and Europa Clipper coming down the pipeline from Florida. First off, Hera is a mission to verify the effects of the mission that NASA launched. Hera is a European Space Agency mission to sort of get info on what is it? Oh God, I always mess up the names. There's Didymos and Dimorphos.
Didymos and Dimorphos, dude.
Thank you, EJ. So yeah, that's what's going on with Hera. It's supposed to launch in October and rendezvous in December of 2026. That's going to be a cool one. I'm excited for it. But what I'm really excited for, not to give Hera short shrift, but what I'm really excited for is Europa Clippy. Yeah. Taste your own medicine, buddy.
No.
But yeah, I'm unclear on this. Can SpaceX fly Falcon Heavy despite the Falcon 9 anomaly, or
hit an exact specific target to a moon of Jupiter too. It's worth noting.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just playing devil's advocate here and anticipating
No, I
all the
think
hate
that's
mail
fair.
attacks.
No, it's good to do. In our back channel, we're being told Crew 9 did 2 burns. Clippy is also doing 2 burns. It is doing.
Oh, there you go. Yep. So yeah, so you're on the money, man. I'm wrong. Yeah, no, I defer to what you said. Yeah, you absolutely got to figure this out.
So Clippy is supposed to launch from 39A on October 10th. And last I checked, that's a couple days from today. Do we think that they're going to hit their launch date? I mean, we haven't heard anything either way so far.
Yeah, but the thing is it's a window. They even extended that window, I believe. It was supposed to be till basically a couple of weeks, and they extended it, I believe, till early January. So you have at least to go to the window before you go to the wall.
I'll allow that one.
Thank you. It's been stuck in my head. I had to find a way to work it in. But yeah, I mean, you have that launch window at least to work with till November 6th. That's almost a whole month at least. They extended that. If it takes a month for this to be resolved, I will pull a Peter Beck and eat an NSF hat.
Oh, he said it. He said it. Somebody clip it.
You heard it here first. Clip it. Clip it. Ship it.
Ship it.
Not clip it.
Print it. Oh my god.
Oh, we walked into
into
it.
that one,
got,
AJ.
I know you missed my
really-
jokes. Come on.
We really walked into that one.
I didn't.
But yeah, you can stay up to date with what's going on with Clipper with next spaceflight.
Jack,
which
did you hear
is-
that?
What? No, I'm.
You heard what he
What,
said?
what did I miss?
You
What did I
said
miss?
you walked right into that, and I said I didn't.
That one made me laugh. That's pretty good.
Next spaceflight. It's a good app for keeping track of spaceflight stuff. Check it out. I don't even know. What do I even do right now?
right,
But yeah,
all right.
between Hera and Clippy, SpaceX is going to be expending 4 boosters in a span of 2 launches. So yeah, focus. Yeah. What is it? Lemon face, lion
Moose.
face, lemon face, lion face.
Woo-saw. Jack, remember your pain points.
Yeah, thank you.
Remember your pressure points.
But yeah, that's rather interesting. We get so used to booster reuse, and yet here we go in the span of 2 launches, they're going to burn 4 boosters.
Crazy.
Indeed.
I mean, hey, if you get the performance, that's the most important thing, though, is the performance. The vehicle has the performance to do it. If it means you don't get to recover the boosters, it stinks, but we'll get some new ones in there at least. And there's plenty of Starlinks to refly other ones.
Yeah, good
Yep.
point. Do we have anything else on Hera or Clippy?
Why aren't you calling it Harry?
Because that's Harry Stranger, friend of the channel.
Yeah.
Wait, we're launching Harry into space?
We will eventually. Until then, his eyes in the sky will have to do.
Oh, all right.
Well,
That
his
makes
eyes are
sense.
upside down, though. He's in
Harry,
Australia.
if you're watching, do you consent to be launched into space by us?
We'll get Joe Barnard to work on the propulsion.
Yes. Yes.
Trust him.
I trust him.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Let's move right along then. You can see footage of Clippy in the clean room getting ready to be transported. Super excited for that mission. Obviously, we all love the science stuff here and want to learn as much about our solar system as we can, as quickly as we can, because the human lifespan is finite. You know the spiel. I give it every time. Next up. Oh, boy. Do we have a friend? Do we have a friend ready for this? I don't know if we do. We're supposed to have Ryan and or Alex on for the Starship segment because we have to talk about what's going on with Starship, and it's a lot. We have no friends. Jay, that's real.
How can you say
yeah,
that? You're not.
hurt.
You're not a friend.
I thought I had friends. All right, fine, no friends. Well, there was a Marine Safety Information Bulletin published
Here we go.
between October 12th and October 19th, with windows beginning at 7 a.m. Central and closing at either 8:10 or 8:40 a.m. Central, depending on the day. So, of course, when we saw these bulletins pop up, it was like, the GIF from The Office where Michael Scott's like, oh God, it's happening. And we have a video about this that DOS did that is absolutely fantastic, that goes over all of the different pieces that let you sort of divine what a launch date could be what can be trusted in terms of the rumor. It's a really good video. You should watch it. We'll spam it in chat. Oh, and thank you, Ryan. It's a Notmar. You know, you could have said it was a Notmar if you were on, like you said you were going to be. But all right, I guess we just have no friends. Jeez.
Called out.
So the Notmar was published, and naturally, what did NSF do? We reached out to the FAA to be like, "Yo, dudes, what's going on?"
That was Adrian's exact wording.
Yeah, that was the entirety of the email from Adrian to the FAA, and basically they said, "Yeah, no, our statement from September 11th still stands, and we're still targeting end of November."
Didn't they say something along the lines of, as far as the launch in October, it's not happening?
I did see that quote floating around the interwebs. That was not in a quote to us.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I'm not even sure. I'm sorry. I'm not sure who to attribute that one to. But yeah, I'm sort of wondering if that was like a on background, like off the cuff sort of statement, or if that was meant to be quoted. But suffice to say, between the FAA saying what they're saying and between SpaceX going for this Notmar, I mean, was it just like some old paperwork that they were like, you know, they never were like, hey, rescind that, please. I don't know. What do we think the heck is going on with Starship Flight 5? EJ, I'll throw it to you first.
I think this is just left over from a potential flight attempt. SpaceX is going to file a bunch of these things. You know, they don't know exactly when you're going to get regulatory approval and the launch license from the FAA. So if it was me, I would file a bunch. So, you know, maybe one day the FAA is just like, oh yeah, we're good. All right, we're cool, man. We're cool, man. The fish are awesome, and you have the permits. You know, you might as well file a bunch of these things just to be absolutely sure. What does it hurt?
Yeah, that's fair. Sawyer, thoughts?
That's my thought. Is at this point, you know, throw it to the wall and see what sticks. If they do randomly come earlier and say, hey, yeah, sure, let's do it, you can go, cool, we're ready to go in 3 days. You know, we've got the dates for it. We've got things set aside. Do I think that they're actually going to be able to use this particular Notmar? Not likely. Get it? Not likely.
What is? There's nothing there to get. Come on, Sawyer, do better. We expect more from you. I was going to say not Markley, but that didn't make sense, so I didn't say it.
That makes even less sense. You're calling. Anyway, I feel like at this point that's kind of what it is, and it really is just a matter of, hey, you know, there is no harm in setting the time aside, even if we don't get to use it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that's sort of the state of play with Flight 5. In terms of what's been going on in Boca, there's been more OLM parts arriving, starting to seemingly be lifted and assembled at the Sanchez lot, so that's fun. Hopefully we'll get better looks at that hardware here soon. Today, the PEZ dispenser, which is the mechanism that goes inside the payload section of a Starship's nose cone, was spotted outside of Mega Bay 2, so that's interesting. Once again, more potential indications that SpaceX is going to do some payloads in earnest with version 2 Starship. So hopefully that pans out. And of course, we have some road closures this coming week. I believe it's, Monday primary with a Tuesday, Wednesday backup. It looks like wet dress rehearsal closures. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Maybe a full wet dress, maybe a tanking test again. But closures coming up either way. Although, I don't know if those chopsticks are going to be able to do much lifting before Monday. Because as you can see, there's some water bags on the chopsticks. If you remember back in the early days of the chopstick being tested, we saw that these sort of ballast bags, these ballast bags were attached to the chopsticks and loaded up with water, and that's one of the ways they qualified and tested the chopsticks. So it looks like we're going to get some more ballast bag testing, for lack of a better term. I'm trying here.
No, no,
Oh
it's
God, I
admirable.
have so many good jokes in the bag, but I'm not going to use them. But I could go both the walls with this. I promise I won't. So, I want to play devil's advocate here for a second.
They're
You
not going
don't
to
mind.
lift a ship with the water bags on. No way.
No, not what I meant.
Go
Remember
on.
the whole all of SpaceX's wording on this has been, "We are ready for flight. Everything is ready for flight. We are go for flight." If they have giant water bags hanging off of the sticks, and they plan on doing another wet dress, are they really ready for flight? It almost
mean, on
seems
the-
like they're saying it to kind of push things along while they continue. I mean, yeah, they're doing more testing. How much of this, though, is testing because they have the time versus testing that they probably still needed to do anyway?
I think that's a fair question. My gut, maybe I'm just being too charitable. My gut would be that this is testing that they're like, well, we've got more time, we might as well do it. But yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be totally that this is all necessary stuff that they would have had to do before flight. Either way, it's hard to sort of see where it falls one way or the other. But I'm curious what chat thinks. I'm also curious what Alex thinks, because turns out we do have a friend in audio only mode. Alex, are you there? Alex, are you there? Hang on,
I don't think we
Alex,
can
hang on.
actually hear Alex on stream,
Stream.
unfortunately.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sawyer. Alex, hang on. It sounds like you are 0 by 0 right now. So let's see if we can get you on comms proper. Give it just a second. Make sure you're not muted. Do all the things. You know how it works.
Yeah. And I mean, from my point of view, I think that they're kind of using it as a. I'm just going to throw my opinion out here. I think it's kind of using it as a scare tactic to the FAA of, come on, we're ready. Give it to us. Come on. I think that if the FAA were to say tomorrow, hey, we're ready, go ahead, I think SpaceX would still need another week or two to actually get the launch off. The fact that they were saying, hey, launch vehicle's ready, when they hadn't done a wet dress rehearsal and all this, they hadn't stacked the full vehicle yet. In my head, it was like, okay, a lot of this is political. Is the FAA being slow? God, yeah, this is ridiculous. But at the same time, I don't know if SpaceX is at the speed that they claim to be, too.
Yeah, that's fair. Alex, let's try this again. Say everything you just said, but audibly this time.
Yeah, I'm now hearing echo.
You gotta mute the tab. Mute the tab, buddy.
There we go. Essentially, what I put, or what I tried to say before is that, the only way that I can parse this is we've seen this before. I put this on the This Week in Spaceflight episode script, and the um, the flight 2, if you remember last year, we had a very similar thing where we saw NOTAMs, not Mars and whatnot, appearing in August for a potential flight in September, and then it turned out that the flight did not happen until November because of all the regulatory stuff and everything. Will SpaceX try to launch in essentially 9 days from now, on October 13th? We have no idea. That's all of the NOTAMs and not Mars and whatever are pointing to. However, as we can see there, as you were mentioning, they're doing this testing on the chopsticks. There seems to be some sort of testing, perhaps next week as well, because they're gonna be closing the road and closing the beach and everything. So we'll see what happens there. I'm really, in a situation where it's like, let's wait and see, let's calm down, right? and be patient because, look, one of the things that one needs to have when talking about rockets and space in general is patience, right? Um, I don't know how many people out there have been waiting, for example, for Falcon Heavy to fly. I know I waited a lot of years, right? And we also waited a lot of years for Starship to fly one time. Now we are up to the fifth time. And, regardless of the technical hurdles, there's also paperwork stuff as well that they need to sort through. We don't know what they're going to do, right? We also know that also in the past, they had also, with the FAA, especially on SN8, they had a license, but they did not have approval because of discrepancies on safety stuff. It's long story there, but essentially they launched, and they did not have approval to launch, right? So
Yeah, we've talked about it in previous flame trenches. Yep.
exactly, it's something that they could try now. Try that and see what happens, right? And so I don't know. We'll just wait and see. Again, this is sort of that sort of moment where the only thing that you can do is prepare for it. I'm definitely preparing for a potential flight, maybe in 9 days. Just because, if it actually happens, I want to be ready, right, for it.
Right.
And I'm mostly sure that a lot of other people are preparing for it. Whether you can afford it or not, that's a whole different reason. But I would not surprise if there are delays beyond that, and they eventually launch in late November. We'll see. And sorry for the long explanation and the technological hurdles and whatever here that I have just had. I'm working on my room, and I essentially had everything dismantled.
No worries.
Wait,
Short
wait.
answer.
Yeah,
don't,
well, that was
don't apologize for giving long answers. I'm here for the Alex long answers. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think a significant amount of chat is. I will still give you endless guff for it, though, because I'm me.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, I don't know. EJ, what's your take? Do you think we'll see a launch in October? Is that even possible? Maybe they revert to the Flight 4 profile? I don't know. They're still doing chopstick testing, so question mark? What do you think, buddy? What's EJ's take?
Jack, I think that catching the booster is a big thing that they're going to need to do. I don't think switching to the Flight 4 profile is going to benefit them in any way. I mean, yeah, you're going to get more flight data, right? But they got to, guys. Like I talked about this before. They got to catch the booster. They have to. You have to catch the booster. The reason why is you got to think who's Starship's biggest external operative word customer. It's NASA. It's NASA with HLS. It absolutely is. To the tune of $2 billion+ for the HLS program. Now, SpaceX has to deliver that in 2026. Even if Artemis gets delayed a little bit, and I mean it keeps going the way it's going. We'll talk more about that later. Let's say 2027. Guys, that's still an absurd amount of launches that you need to do just to get an HLS anywhere near the moon. Even if you get on-orbit refueling figured out and propellant transfer is good, and if you can't catch the booster, you're just to get one HLS out there, you're talking about expending like 16 super heavies. It's not in the cards. They have to catch the booster. I think personally that's the reason why Elon and SpaceX have been up the FAA's tailpipe as of late, because they got to get this thing flying. You got to get this thing flying. You got to prove that booster catch. You have to. If they don't, you run the risk of not having a lander. So I think, are we going to see a launch? Are we seeing a repeat of Flight 4 to get a launch quicker? I don't think so. I think, even though the FAA with the rulings, like it was good and then it's not good because of the permitting, et cetera, I think the right move is to, wait till they say you're good to go and get that booster catch figured out by the, at least before the end of the year, right?
Yeah. Somebody named Das in our back channel is saying, given their build rate, they can complete Artemis without catching the booster. They cannot complete Artemis without making it to orbit. So, I mean, that might be, I construe that at least slightly as an argument in favor of a Flight 4 style profile, because if you can do a Raptor relight on the ship, then you've gotten a step closer to reliably being able to orbit and deorbit the ship, and then actually use it for payloads, and then actually
Wait a
start
minute, but
tanking
Flight 4
missions.
doesn't get to orbit.
That's fair.
What do you mean?
I mean,
I'm confused.
No, you're right. The Flight 4 profile does not put the ship in orbit. That's fair.
yeah, what do you learn if you do a Flight 5 that's the same profile as Flight 4? I mean, all of the major changes that are being done to the ship after we saw with the re-entry and everything, I mean, the biggest thing is the heat shield tiles, which that's a
Right.
whole other thing of, big changes to vehicles. But that would be the main thing to test, is just that. Otherwise, you're basically flying the same profile again, which I get, practice, repetition, all that, but you're not accomplishing what you need to do to further the program. That's launching just for the sake of launching rather than launching for the sake of advancing. I get at that point, though, I mean, obviously, regardless, it's not going to be helping Artemis if you're not launching at all. But at the same time, it's not helping Artemis if you're launching just to say you did.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's
Yeah.
fair.
I will say at least two things and very different things, but one, sort of in favor of the planning from SpaceX, and other, bit against, which is, the one in favor is they need to progress, they need the reusability of Starship in order to be able to make it, not just because of the economics, but also because it's not just going to be, Artemis or HLS. And flying other types of missions, and it seems silly to say, oh, they're going to be flying also Starlink, and they need Starship to be reusable to launch Starlink. But if you look at Falcon, being able to launch Starlink so many times, hundreds of times, like they are approaching 200 Starlink launches, right? And so, of all of the nearly 400 Falcons, half of them have been Starlink launches. If you can build up cadence, if you can build flight data by launching Starlink with a Starship, and you can do that essentially because you're reusing the two stages, and so you're not getting, you're not going broke by doing that, first and foremost, but also you don't need to produce every single vehicle from scratch. You can get it down, reuse it, fly it again, etc., right? So they need to get to a point where they can reuse these stages. Also, if you can bring back the stage, you can actually inspect it. You can actually improve its reliability, right? You can learn a lot more out of it, which is even more beneficial for Artemis, right? So that's a point in favor of this whole thing of Starship needs to be let fly and whatever, right?
Right.
On the other hand, it is also true that, at least from what both SpaceX and the FAA have said, SpaceX sent last-minute updates, so to speak, to their plan for Flight 5 in mid-August. And what happened with that is that regardless of who you are, that implies that you're changing your profile, and if your impact is big enough, SpaceX says that they argue that it is not big enough, it's a small change to the splashdown zone of the hot staging ring. The FAA says, no, it's actually big, and we needed consultation with other environmental agencies. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. If you don't need, if you don't do that in the first place, if you don't submit that last minute data, then you don't have any of these delays. And the launch license could have probably been issued last month, and this probably will not have happened, right? So it's a bit of sweet and sour here, getting me hungry a little bit, I guess.
Stop.
But it's the thing. I don't know, you guys, what do you think?
I think that the flight cadence that's needed for Starship is what's driving SpaceX being incessant about getting that launch license. I mean, yeah, Alex, like it could fall either way, dude. But yeah, I think it's better to switch to wait for that Flight 5 profile and get that booster catch data. I think that's the key, because once again, like, let's just play out the notion that Starship needs 12 refueling flights, right? You need a depot launch, you need 12 refuelers, and then the HLS launch, right? And so that 14 total. You're not expending 14 super heavies in the next 2 years. That would be like catastrophically bad for your bottom line.
Someone
Yeah,
pointed
that's
out
fair.
in chat, and they're true, that when they first analyzed the impact of the hot staging ring splashdown, they said there was no, major impact. But it's worth noting that especially where that hot staging ring comes down, because it's the booster is coming back to land, and it is true that it is not targeting the land; it's targeting sort of offshore. But if those waters are, for example, state waters, things change. Then probably the FAA needs to just put an example. I really don't know if this is the case, right? Then the FAA will need to consult with state regulatory agencies and things like that. Like they will need to go through all their steps that they didn't need to need at any point in the past, right? Because the whole thing changed, and so frankly, I will love to know more. I think both SpaceX and the FAA will benefit from releasing more information of what it's actually all of this, like what is going on, what are all of these discrepancies, and the more data that we actually know, the better it will be for both organizations, both for SpaceX to understand like how small it is that change, right? Is it like I don't know, 200 meters, 300 meters? I will consider that probably small, right? If it is, say, 5 miles, and you say, well, 5 miles is still small compared to the Gulf of Mexico, but it's like if that's the difference between it landing 6 miles offshore or 1 mile offshore, then I will argue that it's probably, a substantial change because it's a lot closer to the beach. And so, again, this sort of thing of more data, more better for us to understand both organizations. I would love to have more data, more information.
Yeah.
You know,
Who
and
wouldn't?
so I really would like to dig into all of that. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, they're not releasing any of this.
Also, can I just throw out a worst case scenario here? If you do the flight forward profile as is, let's say, you're just doing this in the meantime until you get the approval for the catch. Something happens with Ship 30's new heat shield. And so booster's fine, whatever, but the FAA says, no, now we need an even longer investigation because something happened to the ship. You don't even get the booster catch test. At least if you do the Flight 5 profile at that point, something goes wrong with the ship, obviously it's still going to be an investigation, but you at least get to test catching the booster.
Yep.
Someone said in chat, just catch the hot staging rig with a net, maybe attached to a boat. It reminds me of Mischief.
Right?
Good
Oh,
stuff.
Gabby's
Those things were
watching.
so ridiculous. I loved them.
I miss the net
yeah.
boats. I really do.
Guys, another kind of poignant
real
thought
catch.
matter. Yeah, right. Another poignant
Yeah.
thought, matter of factly here, is that if they wait till this launch in November, SpaceX themselves, I mean, even if they take the impossible and make it late, right? They said that second pad is going to be operational by the end of this year, if I'm remembering correctly. So if you wait until November, you're retiring risk on the catch attempt, because if it goes catastrophically bad and blows up the first pad, Jeb forbid, right? Like, you still have the other one operational, ready to go.
Yeah, it's fair. So I don't know. Do we want to just give a gut check? Like, what do we think? Are we still all sort of thinking November? I'm still thinking November until we have evidence to the contrary.
I'll be spicy here for a second. I think that SpaceX's incessant nagging is going to result in some regulatory framework change, and they'll probably not come to an agreement, right? Because it's obviously not a negotiation adhering to the FAA's own rules, right? I think we'll see one. I'll say the end of October. I'll say the end of this month. I think there'll be something that'll come through, and they'll be like, okay, we're good. Because remember, these delays from the FAA by themselves, they're 60-day at the very least, right? So
Right.
that doesn't mean that they can't make it happen faster. I think SpaceX's, let's call it persistence in calling out the FAA is obviously being noticed by people in Congress, and I think that they'll find a happy medium somewhere. So I'll say the end of October.
Yeah, I think that's fairly logical. Alex, what do you think, bud?
Yeah. Again, as I was saying before, this is a wait and see situation. By the way, someone asked in chat why I'm not on camera. Again, I have all of my gear right now unplugged and everything. I'm from a laptop, and my headset.
It's all right.
like,
We forgive you. It's fine.
but,
Guys,
yeah.
he's just studying to
the-
be a ventriloquist over there. You see, that's why. Look at how good he is. Look at how good he is. He's great.
Yeah. So one thing that I will note though, so apart from me not knowing when it will actually happen, I frankly will not. I really am not. I have no idea, right? And I should point out though, on next space flight, we have changed the entry for Starship's fifth flight, but essentially, to include this latest round of notices and everything. But there's a note underneath of it. So if you go to the website and everything, you'll see a note.
That's
saying
why you
launch
always
date.
leave a note. All right, sorry,
Exactly, right? Launch date is
Noted.
provisional based on marine and airspace safety notices, and it is pending confirmation by SpaceX. And this is because, sure, there are these notices and whatnot. We put essentially the earliest time for that, which will be Sunday, October 13th, 2024, at 7 a.m. Central Time, or as it says there, 8 a.m. Eastern. The thing is, these notices, even them, those themselves, are spread across like a week, right? So even within that week, SpaceX could target anything like that. So that's it. It's why it's saying pending confirmation by SpaceX, obviously pending regulatory approval, whatever happens with that as well. So that's why that note is there. We always try to put extra information when you see the app or the website and you just load it. You may see some weird things like that. Just click on it. There's more information inside. Don't worry. That's sort of my heads up note kind of thing that I will, that I wanted to point out here.
Yeah, good call. Next Spaceflight is a great resource. I always I have a lot of friends, for example, in Los Angeles, who are not super space nerdy, but who are photographers and like photographing rockets. And they're always like, "Hey man, is there a launch tonight?" And I'm like, "Dude, next Spaceflight. What are you doing?" Like, I'm happy to answer your question, but also just get next Spaceflight. Just use next Spaceflight. It's amazing. Speaking of amazing, this week in spaceflight was also amazing. It's pinned in chat, so be sure to give that a watch if you haven't already. Again, that is the straight news recap of the events of the week. Alicia and the team do a fantastic job with it. So if you want a good companion,
Thank
it's
you.
almost like, yeah, you're welcome. It's almost like the Flame Trench is the Flame Trench is like the director's cut or the extended edition to Twist. So they go together. If you're watching this, you should have watched that already. But
I
yeah,
will
check it
also
out.
mention.
Oh, Alex is
that-
also going to mention something. What are you going to mention, Alex?
Yeah, because not all of the stuff that is on the Flame Trench is on Twist, and not all of the things on Twist are on the Flame Trench. So, for example, we talk about a potential second moon around the Earth, solar flares, stuff like that. You can watch that on this week's episode.
That's right. I really hope we get some solar, not solar flares. I really hope we get some aurora from those mass ejections. That's going to be.
Someone
What's
said
going
in
on?
chat, that's the straight news. This is the bendy news.
Yeah, there you go. My spirit animal is Bender,
Right.
for various reasons.
Guess what? Who guess who
I
my
feel like a
spirit
fry, but
animal
anyway.
is?
Yeah, you're total fry. EJ is also a fry. Alex is a Leela.
What? Hey, do not
Ooh,
get
why?
confused, my friend.
Yeah, you did the Zoidberg. Come on.
That's right. Yeah, that's my bad. EJ's totally a
Look at
Zoidberg.
me, Dr. Zoidberg, homeowner.
Oh, good deal. All right, well,
And wait, yeah, why is Alex Leela? Wait a minute.
he just has Leela energy. He's like explaining things. He's very smart. Yeah, I don't know. I just get. And also, look at the hair.
Hair.
I mean, come on. Oh, he just needs purple hair and a ponytail. He's good to go. Leela
Okay, if
energy.
everyone's finished being stupid,
I had more.
Wow.
Hey, it's a full-time job, Alex, all right? Jeez.
No, it's a direct Leela quote from Futurama,
yeah.
and the Fry response is, "I had more." Quality. Speaking of quality,
Nice.
y'all are coming out with all of this support. I want to make sure I thank everybody. Oh my God! Wait, Jay, can
Jack
you?
is eating the light.
Yeah, can you cut away from me really quick? I have to stand up and close my blinds. Just anything but
Ryan
me.
in the
Yeah.
Ryan in the back channel says we're this week in space from wish.com this week in space.
It's the Timu. It's Timu this week in spaceflight.
You're not wrong.
I feel
I
seen.
don't know what you want, man.
I feel both called out and seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Effion, thanks for the support in the store purchase. David, thank you for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Wow. Bob Smith, $5 for EJ's Java Fund, also complimenting the team's imagery of Vulcan. They really did a great job. Thank you for that. Jimbo, becoming a PadRat member. Range SFS with a 5 curly L super chat saying Sigma made my day. People loved that. Roseanne DeVasto, thank you for the $49.99. Thank you so much. They say my first flame trench. How did I miss these? Great stuff. Thanks. Well, I'm glad you're not missing them anymore. It's good to see your name pop up. Rankley, gifting a Red Team membership. Mighty Don Don, gifting 5. Steve Kalovic, thanks so much for the super chat there. They say this is for your amazing photographers. I know that they appreciate it because I certainly do. The whole team does. Randall, grabbing the RS-25 shirt. No, RS-25 hoodie because they love the shuttle. Hey, so do we. Also, you know what? I'm stealing this from you, EJ. I'm going to steal this from you. You know what vehicle has 3 RS-25s? This is totally EJ. I take no credit. It's the shuttle! Yay, shuttle reference.
Which, by the way, Shuttle Sunday coming this Sunday.
Ooh,
STS
good call.
61A and B. Talking about the Challenger's final successful mission, other cool stuff and facts and pictures and videos and Sawyer flexing with astronauts in there and Crispy probably talking about
Always.
horses somehow. Don't forget, that is Sunday, 3 p.m. on Space Coast Live if you want to join us live, and it does end up getting posted afterwards.
Good deal. Nick grabbing the
reading about those
Raptor.
missions right now.
What?
I'm reading about those missions right now.
Nice. EJ, you got to join us on Shuttle Sunday at one of these points. I think that would be a good addition. Also, we got to get Philip on as well.
Wait, you don't have Sloss
Do we
on
have
there?
6 hours?
I mean, I do. I'm here for it. What if we had Philip and Alex on the same stream and did the world implode?
Yes, I was with him on the Artemis 1 stream.
Did the world implode? Was that a yes to both questions?
No, we're actually nerding out about rockets. He knows about
the heat shield
SLS, I
did.
know about Starship and
Nice.
Falcon.
Look at the world we live in. There's your answer.
That explains the timeline we're in. Nick, thank you for grabbing the Raptor t-shirt and the love from Essex, UK. Damian Williams, thanks for the super chat. Talking about the burn through, saying they wouldn't certify it. We'll see how that all goes. Really, I don't think we asked this during the Vulcan segment. Do you think there'll be a Cert 3? EJ first.
If the FAA says it's cool, probably not. But then again, the Department of Defense spends a good amount of money on their very nice payloads.
Right.
What do they do? Don't know. Where do they go? I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you.
You don't want to get like the loud knocks on your door that's just like, FBI, open up.
Yeah. We don't need that happening. Not that I did know. If I knew, I probably wouldn't be here. But anyway, yeah. I mean, the DoD might have more stringent criteria for their payloads. You know.
Yeah, that's fair. Sawyer, what do you think? Cert 3 or no?
No. I'm going to flat out say no. If they said it's a success, it made it to orbit, I think that honestly proved more that it made it to orbit with something off nominal than it did if it would have made it nominally, because we've seen another Vulcan with 2 solids make it into orbit successfully. So I think this proves it. Plus, they have 2, national security payloads sitting ready, waiting to go by the end of the year. I think they want to get those off the ground as much as ULA does.
Yeah, fair. Alex, what do you think? Cert 3, yeah or nay?
Yeah. Why are we going full screen? Probably
Because look at
not.
your hair.
I
Look at how good your hair looks.
I don't see. It's a lot longer now because that picture is like 2 years old. You can tell because I'm wearing the heavy hoodie. I think it's still.
You tell 'cause the way it is.
in the shop.
Yeah, because
That's pretty neat.
Good deal.
I still wear that hoodie though. If you watch our latest Cape flyover, you see me changing to this hoodie when I talk about Falcon Heavy.
Nice. Did you answer? Did you ramble? What? Cert 3, yes or no? Say it again.
No, I don't think Cert 3 will happen.
All right. Yeah, for the record, I don't either. I expect them to. I mean, even Delta 4 Heavy's first launch was pretty spicy. So, but it still got certified. It's still good. It's just a little spicy. It's still good. It's still good. All right. I think with that, we will wrap it up for the week. I do want to thank our flight engineers and our launch director members, the 2 higher levels of the membership program, absolutely key to enabling what we do here at NSF. I mean, we had the Flame Trench here today. We had Twist this morning. We had the Vulcan stream before that. We had Max, D, Julia, Sawyer, all out in the field. We had the whole team in the back channel processing and producing and operating the stream. I mean, it takes a village here at NSF. So thank you to our flight engineers. Thank you to our launch directors. Thank you to all of our members and anybody that supports us in any way. It doesn't have to be a monetary thing even. Like just hitting the like button, just watching the stuff. We appreciate you just the same. It really means the world to us because we have the most fun job ever. And that's only because of y'all
pretty good.
showing up. Oh, it's gift time. Do we have some good ones this week?
Dude, the Clevis gift. Yeah, well.
The Clevis GIF is quality. Like that, I need somebody to tag that in Giphy, like with the word Clevis, so that I can
Clevis.
Yeah, I can access that whenever I need it. Oh yes, we've got some Joey B gifs. Heck yeah,
Joey Bags.
Yeah, there's the Clevis. Yes,
More Clevis.
Clevis me.
The Clevis. More Clevis, more better.
Clevis.
Yeah, more Clevis, more better. I mean,
And the chat goes, and the chat starts chanting, Clevis.
Clevis. Yeah, good deal. All right, well, the 3 of y'all, thank you so much for being on. Once again, thank you to Joe Bernard for being on. Be sure to check out BPS Space. We'll spam the link in chat there again. Go watch his videos. They're amazing. Also, go watch Twist. Also, Shuttle Sunday on Sunday. So, whole bunch of cool content floating around there in the YouTube verse. Can I call it? But elsewhere too, because we do have the NSF socials. So be sure to follow us wherever you get your social media, whether that's X, IG, Facebook, or I think there's even a TikTok. So yeah, the socials exist. Follow them. There's all kinds of crazy news flying around this week. So it's a really good way to keep track of what's going on without having to watch a whole entire video. So yeah, got to mention the socials. But with that, I think we call it. Thanks to Jay for operating. EJ, thanks for being on, man.
And thanks for having me, guys. It's a privilege coming on here. Just as a reminder, I do stream on Twitch probably more than I should. So if you want other space stuff, I'm there. You want to ask me questions about space, I can make cool, funny hand motions and make you laugh when doing it.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Do follow EJ. EJ good. More EJ, more better. So yeah, we'll put EJ's Twitch in chat as well. So that'll be in there. Thank you for that, EJ.
I know. We also get to say cool words like Clevis and hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene and panendermic semiboloid slots of the stator.
Do you ever say triethylborane or maybe triethyl aluminum? Those are the only 2 I can pull out of the top of my head.
We were talking about TTAB in historic applications for restarting J58s at supersonic speeds.
Nice.
If you know, you know.
Nice. Sawyer, thanks for being on, buddy.
Thanks. It's good to be back. Good to be back, Vertical. Bideford, thank you for your kind words. Everyone in chat, thank you for all the kind words. And what's the number? Because you said we got to call it. So it's what, 1-800-CLEVIS? Is that the number?
It's my Clevis, and I want it now. Call JGE Clevis. Someone's on the Clevis now. All right. Anyways, what's wrong with me? I need to sleep. Alex,
stop.
Well, where do we start?
Alex, thanks for being on. Please let this end soon.
Pyrophoric. You know what? We'll just keep saying big words.
I'm just going to say there's a ton of stuff that we're working on.
Hypergolic.
I've lost a lot of sleep for lots of things that are coming up. I really hope you all enjoy it.
Indeed. Well, with that, once again, thanks to Jay for operating today's stream, and we will see you nerds on the next one.
Ooh. Hype train.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside speed off. Say again, speed off. It's orange!
R45. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
My room and getting some sleep.
You go to your room,
Adios.
Alex.
You grounded,
Members
mister.
already in his room.
exclusive. I may be looking at rockets soon. In person. I'll leave it there.
Cool.
People keep asking me if you're going to be here for Flight 5.
I was gonna be, but you know, the FAA had other thoughts about it.
Fair.
So yeah, it did not happen. But you know, it's too late already to go back.
All right,
If
well,
they put in a temporary flight restriction on Spaniards.
wait. So what? I guess we'll just have to wait and see what you mean then. All right, hang on, boys. I'll be right back. I gotta
you'll
go.
see soon. What
I gotta
mean.
go take care of some stuff. I will be
Just
right
cannot
back.
say what, but
No.
fucking hint.
Mic is up. I'll be right back.
Oh damn.
No, we can hear you still.
I hope it wasn't too big of a shameless plugging this book. This is the one that Tom Jones was talking about from the Intrepid streams last week that we segued to.
It's not unusual.
Yeah, that's it's actually a super good book. It's like it's like a glossary for every single shuttle mission, which is fantastic.
It's one per flight, at least, right?
What?
Isn't that what it is? One story per flight?
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Later, man. Cool. Oh, I haven't slept in like 2 days. I'm probably gonna stop here.
I mean, I got
MDs
2 hours of sleep.
Yeah, that's pretty much about where I'm at, Sawyer.
Yeah, got a nice nap, and that was about it. I was up 24 hours yesterday, and then into driving the 2 hours up to the Cape today, launch, driving the 2 hours back.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna dip out then, Sawyer. I'll see you next week, buddy. Okay.
So that would leave just me. So I think are we bailing on the post show this early? What's going on?
I can stay for a little
Where's
bit,
Jack?
dude, if you want. Yak? Is Yak back?
Yeah, you can't bail on us if Jack is back.
Oh, okay. 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes.
Yay!
That's it's a shame we didn't get to that Ars article. I was waiting for it, but it's all good.
Wondering about that too, but yeah.
Jack, you're muted.
No yak. No yak.
We cannot hear you, Mr. Yak.
Yak.
Canadian moose during mating season. No, don't worry about it, dude. It's all good, man. Don't worry about it. Hosting. No, dude, it's hard. It's hard to manage. It's all good, dude. Don't worry about it.
You're still muted.
Jack is saying he's seeing more people call him Yak.
Yes.
Gee, I wonder where that came from.
I couldn't possibly imagine where that might be coming from.
Totally not perpetrating that.
Certainly not somebody's Twitch channel. I don't think
Nope.
that would be where from.
Nope.
I like Yak actually. I again, as I said
Really?
in the pre. Yeah, I like it. It's kind of nice. Yeah, Yak. It's like it feels like exotic.
Mr. Yak.
Yeah.
Mr. Yak.
I'm into it.
Mr. Yak.
Membies, what's up? How was that? Did we do good this week? That was a lot. 50 people watching right now. Hooray.
Yakety yak.
Don't talk back. I'll talk it back as much as I'll talk it back as much as I want. I don't know how to turn Italian there. I don't know why I went Italian there.
Che cosa?
Where is the
Jack,
damn...
tu sei un pazzo, va via da qui.
I only know English, my guy.
Che cosa?
Alien
Por favore, signori.
We're moving on. Alien is asking for you to do Mr. Yak in Zoidberg voice.
Oh, look everyone, Mr. Yak is here.
It's too good. Oh, it's too good.
Hey, Hermia, what's up? What's up with the no-dems for 5? It's nothing, Fahrenheit. It's just, yeah.
I mean, it's another data point. It's not a data point I would necessarily weight very heavily, but it's another data point.
Yeah.
Alien wants us to go over the Ars article. Eric Berger is advocating in that article for the cancellation of Gateway and using a Centaur 5 as the upper stage for SLS instead of the European upper stage. So
yeah, dude, this article got brought up on Space News the other day, and I'm not trying to put Eric on blast. Like, it's just, I'm just
exploration
what I
upper
wanted
stage.
to kind of.
Sorry, Ryan. Please continue, EJ.
Oh, yeah, exploration upper stage, not the European upper stage. Let me remind you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think Eric's kind of right with getting rid of Gateway, just because the program's a straight fiasco. Like, I wouldn't have said cancel Gateway if Halo and PPE were working correctly, but I think canceling Gateway is the right idea because I think pushing for the EUS is the right idea as well, and particularly pushing for the SLS Block 1B cargo fairing. If they pushed for EUS development and the 10-meter fairing from the block SLS cargo, right? You have the freedom here to use like New Glenn as your Ares 1 and SLS cargo as your Ares 5. And you can put together a pretty damn comprehensive spaceflight architecture with that. I think there's an argument to be made there. You want a quicker way back to the moon, have NASA make a hypergolic lander because go with what you know, and get rid of Gateway and use that, not necessarily use that funding, but get a in-house lander on the books. And I know people are going to look at me like I'm crazy, right? But it would be a good benchmark to go with what you know and use that for the time being before, and that takes the pressure off your commercial providers that are pioneering all these new technologies that will basically, get you insane dexterity around the moon. We wouldn't just be going back to land. We'd be going back to land, and then you'd have propellant depots and base outposts and all this other stuff, right? I think that building out the EUS and expanding the EUS and the SLS program, it would be a better idea than canceling it and putting a Centaur 5 on it. I don't understand where you're getting the Centaur 5 from. Like, that doesn't make SLS better or worse. That does the exact same thing as the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. It does the same thing. So SLS just still winds up as a rocket that can only put people near the moon. And once again, I don't think Centaur would be able to take those loads. If Europa Clipper can't take it, I don't think a Centaur stage would be able to take those loads either. There's a reason why we never put a Centaur on top of a Saturn V, even though that was explored. You'd need a forward load reactor for it, like Atlas 5, like the Atlas 500. You need an FLR or CLFLR. Without it, Centaur would crumple like a beer can behind the like 30 meganewtons of thrust, right? I don't think that's a wise idea. But the overarching point that I wanted to make with it, and once again, I'm not trying to be a jerk to Eric. His books about SpaceX are amazing. They're fantastic. I just don't really understand why you would call to cancel these programs, right? Under the guise of like saving money, right? Like that doesn't make any sense to me, because you don't. Canceling these okay, so say they do cancel Gateway. That the way it's described in the article is described as freeing up a bunch of cash. You know that NASA doesn't allocate the funds, right? The House of Representatives does. Congress does. Congress allocates the funds, right? You don't. The funding stipulations. NASA doesn't have they have some transgression here, but they can't just shift funds around. So implying that as a solution to fixing things is really, 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 really wrong. That's not how that works at all, right? Like, it's just a pattern that I've noticed over, studying spaceflight history and stuff. The pattern that I've noticed is every time someone says this is too expensive, we can do it for cheaper, or this is too expensive, imagine where these funds could be spent. Imagine elsewhere where these funds could be sent. NASA gets the shaft every time. Every time they end up with less capability and less funding. So it's insane to me that we have people arguing this same exact thing. You see people say, you see like Eric saying this, like, oh, we'll just get rid of this, and then that frees up a ton of funding. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because if that was the case, SpaceX would have got $30 billion for funding when the Constellation program was canceled, and they didn't.
I mean,
commercial crew contract was nowhere near.
I don't know how the process actually works. Does NASA go to Congress and say we want this much money for this much money for this? And so, if they did cancel things, they could say we want in the next budget proposal we're going to reallocate this money to this instead. Like, is that part of the process, or is it just because I know Congress mandated famously that Clipper launch on SLS for a long time. Like, what I don't know what sort of powers or like give and take there is there, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the Congress is the one that signs this into law, and I guess you can have some transgression with your funding, right? But you can't. Okay, so like let's look historically, right? Like look at from the Saturn V to the space shuttle, from Apollo to the shuttle program. They said the shuttle would be better. No, it's not. It doesn't send people to the moon. It's not better. It's not. Like, objectively, the Saturn V can make a better space station than the shuttle can, right? Like, we just look at the history. Like, you don't need to go any further. Like, it took the shuttle 35 assembly flights to build the ISS. Saturn V could have done that in like 3. You could just bolt a bunch of Skylabs together, right? And don't say it couldn't be done. They could have done that, right? Like, it's just, I see this argument being made all the time, this should free up so much stuff. This stuff is expensive. And there's no doubt that some of the SLS stuff is carrying a heavy cost. Now, that's another story. But people use that as an excuse. Like, that saying that is inadvertently defunding NASA. Like saying NASA should get less money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I get that.
That's bad. Jack, I mean, the entire reason why we're in this situation in the first place is because someone said this exact thing about the Constellation program.
Right.
And
cancel
look at what we ended up with. We can do
it for way cheaper, way faster, way better. And then here we are a decade later.
See what I'm saying? It's a recurring cycle. This happened with Space Station Freedom. It happened from Apollo to the shuttle program. It happens all the, dude, it's like a vicious cycle that's been repeated like 6 or 7 times since NASA's start.
Woof.
But that system is just wrong. What system, Alien? What are you talking about?
They're talking about the Congress, pulling the purse strings or what have you, if I'm not mistaken.
If we had a program that had some direction, this whole system, you can leverage the entire system to work for you, just like the Apollo program, right? And you can't argue that, here's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, the Apollo program wasn't sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's too expensive. It's not sustainable. Well, guess what? The Saturn V could do everything that the Artemis program is setting out to do, but better. Like, I don't care what anybody says. It's objectively better in every way. So what's more sustainable here, right? Like, like SLS needs more of that capability, and that does need to be kind of switched around, right? But to sit here and insinuate like it does. I mean, no goal, like it's more sustainable, is like a little weird. Sorry, I'm getting a little ranty.
No, that's fair. Rant away, my guy.
Like, I think if you have a good goal and a good direction, like we choose to go to the moon in this decade, the system leverages itself to work for you, right? It leverages itself to work for you, just like we saw during the Apollo program, right?
Yeah.
Saying the Saturn V could do it better is like saying Concorde is a better airliner than any commercial airplane today. Sure, it's cool, but the 787 has pounds better fuel efficiency. But you sacrificed your capability, Ryan.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
In this particular case, the 787 in your analogy is like the Wright Flyer.
I can't help but feel like a dum-dum for missing this. This would have been good. I mean, it is good. I'm glad we're doing it for
No, it's all good. No, it's all right. It's all right. Tori Bruno says a bullseye. I mean, guys, there's a bigger precedent going on here. This is what I'm getting at. The SLS program needs to be fixed, and NASA has to have their own redundant space exploration program that is completely interdependent from SpaceX. I.e., if SpaceX can land somebody on the moon, NASA needs to be able to land somebody on the moon. The reason why is because, okay, so think about this in the long term, right? Not in the long term. Think about it like this. You're 18. Say you're 18. You go to college for aerospace engineering. You graduate. You're 22. You got your AE degree. Who do the kids want to go and work for?
SpaceX.
Bingo. That is causing a brain drain at NASA and making NASA inadvertently more of a bureaucratic regulatory agency that rather than somebody that's an agency that's cutting that's on the cutting edge of scientific exploration and discovery.
Right.
That's not good. No one's going to want to work for NASA if they're just the FAA for space. No one's going to want to do that. And because of that, and because of this recurring cycle of, commercial can do it better, commercial can do it better, commercial can do it better, NASA's eventually going to shrivel up into nothing. And before people say I'm a crackpot about this, there was a National Academy of Sciences paper that was chaired. Hans Koenigsmann was on this board that published this paper a little while ago saying this exact thing. NASA needs long-term goals. If you have a long-term goal, clear-cut and defined, the whole system falls into place. And it helps the commercial market in the long run. Without long-term goals at NASA, we're screwed. Now, I know what people are going to say, well, commercial will just take care of it, EJ. Commercial will just... Well, guess what, man? One of these long-term goals, the commercialization of low Earth orbit, is the reason why SpaceX exists. And that was part of the long-term goals of the Constellation program. It's not rocket science, man. NASA needs to be healthy and robust. They need to be like that for a long time.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of that. I do agree that NASA is experiencing a brain drain, has been, and that we don't want to see them sort of metamorphose into a regulatory sort of thing. I mean, they should be focusing on Earth science. They should be focusing on cutting-edge technology, things like spacesuits, things like landers, like Europa Clipper, that are just not going to happen in a commercial space. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Mm-hmm. What would be an example of a long-term goal? Well, it's not just necessarily a long-term goal. You need a long-term goal with schedule milestones. Because the problem with the Artemis program is that it has some decently defined goals. Go back to the moon so you can learn how to land on Mars. When is that happening? There's no the policy behind it is garbage. Yeah, it's happening sometime. It's terrible. We need concrete deadlines. You need a deadline, and you need a goals to scale around. If you don't have any of that, if you don't have any of that, all you're incentivizing is waste. There's no point, and you just get this brain drain scenario anyway.
Hang on, sorry, responding to DMs.
Yeah, no problem. It's also worth remembering that the Saturn V would have become cheaper over time. Yeah, the only reason why it carried a heavy price tag is because and this is still something that NASA does to this day. The per unit cost of a vehicle has the development roped in. So the more you launch it, the cheaper it gets, because NASA ropes development costs into the launch cost. How much did it take to get that vehicle from raw materials to the launch pad? That's included in your unit price. That's really important to understand. You will get a reduction in SLS costs if you make it launch more. I doubt Outer Misty will happen before 2030. China will probably get there first at this point. Yeah, Jaden, I know, and that sucks. That sucks, man. Why? I was talking about this a little bit earlier. We shouldn't also rely on a foreign adversary to just get stuff done in our space program, because clearly that isn't a long-term solution, because at the first sight of us winning the space race, politicians pulled the plug on the Apollo program completely, because more expenses, right? That ain't gonna fix. Putting a Centaur on top of this SLS ain't gonna fix NASA. Building an end-to-end spaceflight architecture to get you to the moon and back, Apollo style, will save it. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like that ain't the cheapest solution. But here's the down and dirty secret. At the end of the day, all spaceflight, when you're pushing the frontier, is going to be expensive. Anybody that says this space program is too expensive is inadvertently asking for NASA to get less money. That's the facts. That's why Eric does good work. He really does. He really does good work. But this ain't it, man. That's not it. NASA's funding situation is not well suited for efficiency. Disagree, Alien. The money is there. Look at the unit price of an RS-25E. The money is there. It's absolutely there. There's no direction for the program. What's the incentive for Aerojet Rocketdyne to deliver, or Boeing, or anyone to deliver anything on time? They could sit there and milk cash all day. Why wouldn't they? You'd be stupid not to. Oh, Ryan, I wouldn't make any friends in there, dude. That's for sure.
I'm starting to crash. I need to go lay down, but still not fully back to me yet.
You said 15. You said 15 more minutes, man. I gave you 20.
Hey, thank you, though, EJ.
Hey,
I'm glad we did get to go over that a little bit. I should probably eat food, but yeah, Membies, we love you. Thank you, Membies. Twitch chat.
Yeah,
we love you.
It's just something to think about, guys. Yeah.
It's food for thought. It's freeze-dried space food for space thought.
Yeah,
Dippin' Dots.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
me too,
food
man.
sounds good.
All right, guys. Twitch chat, I'll see you in a second. Membies, I'll see you next week, okay?
Bye.
Bye.
Laters.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside speed off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in a big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Hey, are we back? All right. Oh, dude, I tried to get it in at the end there, but I'm too tired. I couldn't organize my thoughts like I usually could. Not like when I was playing Satisfactory. Damn. I think you got it across. Maybe not as perfectly articulated as if you weren't running on zero sleep, but I think you got it across well enough. Yep. Yeah. Good EJ. Yeah, good show. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Nice trench today. It was fun. Dude, how cool is Joe? Joe's the freaking man. That guy's from my neck of the woods, dude, which is actually super cool. We actually grew up not that far apart from each other, which is, I always thought that was really neat. NSF's client always likes to deboost the microphone for whatever reason. But yeah, Joe's super cool. He knows his stuff when it comes to solids, man. It's pretty cool. I was so surprised when I first heard Joe. Nice surprise to be sure. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, I'm goosed. I'm goosed. It sucks. I want to play Satisfactory so bad, but I gotta go. Yep. All right. So here's the plan. Ernox here in company. So I will see you guys on Monday. Monday at noontime, I need a good rest. I've been streaming for 2 weeks straight. Remember, I didn't get a weekend off last week because of Crew 9. So I've been putting in work. And don't worry, we're going to keep going with it. So I'll see you guys all on Monday. Noontime, we'll do workers and then space news. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably Satisfactory for the rest of the week. I gotta finish the structure for that trench so we can start building the ship. Don't forget to raid somebody. Dude, that's work. I want to go to bed. I'm not even doing the sign off, man. I'm leaving. Have a good night, everybody. I'll talk to you guys all on Monday. Thanks for watching.